Yahoo. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I was in a silly mood. I'm still waking up. Yeah, I mentioned this during my guerrilla work stream this morning, but I'm trying to gradually push my schedule back to something normal now that the GTA event is over. So instead of sleeping 1 time, I'm sleeping 2 times in every day. I'm taking 2 naps that are like 4 or 5 hours. So I just woke up from my 2nd nap of the 24-hour period. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I'm still waking up. I'm a little goofy. Energy. 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 Did I have a good sleep? Yeah, I dreamed about Animal Crossing City Folk on the Nintendo Wii. Specifically played on the Nintendo Wii U for some reason. Yeah, I dreamed that I was playing that. Except it had things that were not in any of the Animal Crossing games, including City Folk on the Nintendo Wii, specifically played on the Nintendo Wii U. It had things that weren't normal for Animal Crossing. It was weird. And I lived in a castle. I lived in a giant castle. And it was gorgeous. Sound congested is because I'm still waking up. I like just woke up. These are the first words I've spoken since I woke up. Yes, I just woke up. I told you already. I just woke up. I just woke up from my nap. I just woke up from my nappy. And I'm still getting up. Like I'm still becoming alert. How are you? What's good in your world? I hope you have been sleeping well, getting good rest. Yeah. What's going on for you? Cranky? No, I don't get cranky in the mornings. I just get crazy congested. Would you prefer that I get cranky? There you go. Stop asking. I already told you. I'm still waking up. What's your problem? Could you imagine? Just wake up and choose violence. Well, I hope you've been well. I hope everything is going okay for you. I'm pooped, but I'll get through it. Watching VCraft. Oh man, stay safe. I will warn you, the first like 3 or 4 days of my POV are kind of misleading. They kind of belie the whole POV. Once you hit like day 5 or day 6, I don't remember which one it was specifically, but around that point, like the 5 to 7 period of my POV, that's where it starts to get a little different. So good luck. I personally, at the end of the day, it's just Minecraft, and there are much more emotionally impactful stories out there. But people had a lot to say about that one. People had a lot to say about that one. So best of luck to you. Be ready. Yeah, it was. I will say that my VCraft experience was very, 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 very profoundly different from my GTA experience. It would be more closely likened to a bunch of the officers from the LSPD in terms of like direction and emotional intensity. There were a lot of serious emotional monologues and dialogue, and yeah, I just love torturing my homunculus. I love to torture my homunculus. You ever torture your homunculus? I've seen like 3 tweets about torturing homunculi recently, by the way. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen 3 distinct tweets about torturing homunculi, and every single time I'm like, yeah. Yeah, who up torturing their homunculus? I've genuinely seen like 3 distinct tweets about it, and I thought of him every single time. Oh my god, a bug is on my keyboard. Hello, little guy. Can you climb onto my finger? Don't be shy. I just want to get you off my keyboard. That's all. because I'm about to use it. Oh, you don't want to? Okay, can you just like climb off my keyboard then? All right, hold on. I need to escort this insect outside. I'll be right back. Hold on. I think I've got you over here. All right, I'll let this guy stand in for 1 second. I need to escort an insect off of the premises because he's causing me problems. All right, I'll be right back. Come on. Okay. If you won't climb on my finger, then I'm just gonna pick you up. Hope you don't mind. Be careful. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, he's been escorted outside, which means we can we can get rid of this guy. All right, bye bye cardboard Kaelix. Talking to a PNG. No, he's a printed cardboard standee. I set him outside whenever I don't want to do my bouncing job. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's very boring. It's very boring whenever everybody's already inside and when business is slower than usual. You cannot make me stand out there for that long when the party's inside. That's why I pull him out whenever I need to step away from my desk for regular streams too, because that's technically like not doing my job whenever I'm away, whenever I'm AFK. So that's why I pull him out. Yeah. Yeah, he's made of cardboard. It's a little different than a PNG. Yeah, he's just my stand-in, standee, whenever I don't want to or whenever I can't do my job. Anyway, we should get to the main objective for today, which is to talk about District 5, sometimes called District V, but I don't accept that pronunciation because District 5 is classy and better. And to talk about Kyle Bifyre, the character that I played. Hopefully I will wake up a little bit as this progresses. There is a hard cap on this one, but I'll just mention that if we get close to it. Yeah, there is something I have to be available for tonight, but it shouldn't get in the way based on like how long a Q&A would usually last for us. No, District 5. The V is the Roman numeral 5. Like in GTA 5, which nobody calls GTA V. Nobody says GTA V. If you say GTA V, you're cringe. Nobody says that. Everybody says GTA 5. But it's written with a V. Or like IDV is a little different, but it's called Identity 5. You know? It's like same territory. The V is a 5. District 5. That's what I say. You're not going to be able to pronounce it V unless it's like District 6, which is going to be when we get Grand Theft Auto 6 and we do the server again on Grand Theft Auto 6 and it's written as VI. So you can read that as V if you want to. But even then, it would be District 6. It's V like Grand Theft Auto 5. No further questions. Districts 1 through 4, we skipped those. They were inferior. Okay, hold on. Let me give you some Q&A box. Okay, here you go. All right. So today we will be operating through a Q&A box system. Note that if you ask a question and I choose it, it will be displayed on the screen. Or not on like the, how do I phrase this? It won't be visible on the screen itself, but it will be visible on the chat box. Like people will know that you asked the question. So be mindful of your phrasing, I guess. Know that you're at risk of being exposed for whatever you ask me today. All right, we got a good one to start with here. Why does Kyle not entrust the bank with his money? This was an RP decision that I made that was so consistently inconvenient and was one of the stupidest things I did, but I kept it consistent as I could, specifically for RP. The reason Kyle does not trust the bank with his money is an extension of the fact that he doesn't trust anybody with his money. This is because of the very basic backstory that I gave him going into it. You may know, you may not know, but I'll say again now. Kyle was a child actor. He worked as an actor for a couple of standout, famous, beloved films before he was like 10 years old, like as a little kid. And these films were huge. Like in the tier of the only film I ended up naming was Home by Yourself, which is a very obvious reference to Home Alone, the real film. So I'm kind of setting up that precedent where the film is super, super, super well known. And in the case of Home Alone in real life, people know who played that kid. People know the actor for Kevin, right? But I'm setting up a scenario which is a very realistic thing that happens, a very real phenomenon, where the film is beloved and the child actor is beloved, but as that child grows up, they don't always see the same success and love in the film industry. So he struggled a lot when it came to making money as he became an adult, and all the money and payments and royalties from his successful films as a kid were controlled strictly by the parents. Even when he became an adult, they still controlled all the finances through a number of legal loopholes, and he didn't see any of it. So despite the fact that he was like kind of forced in a sense to work in what is a very weird and messed up form of labor for no pay, yeah, he's struggling financially. And now he's in a position where he's making money, but you know, because he had no choice but to trust other people with his money when he was a kid. As an adult, he does not trust people with it at all, including banks. He has a general distrust of having his money handled by other people. The moment it enters his hands, he doesn't like to let other people hold it for him. So that is why I made the stupid, inconvenient, annoying choice to withdraw all of my money from the bank every time, and only made the concession of keeping like 20,000 in the bank after I made a ton of it and encountered problems with like getting my bike transferred from lot to lot. Yeah. Yeah, he is more the type to have all of his cash kept under like a mattress somewhere. And at the end of the game, he did have like $1 million and a few $100,000 in cash just on hand. That is why he does not trust the bank with his money. He lost so much money to his parents. And to this day, he yeah, he just he cannot expose that layer of trust to others. Yeah, it's a little different if it's like money that is due to be paid to him. For example, when the heist money is due to be split up, it's okay for that to stay in the stash, especially in the case where he acknowledges that he's not the biggest asset to all of these heists and is not an active participant in some of them. But in any case where he feels that he worked for the money, he feels very strongly that he deserves it. They were gonna clear customs with that much cash on him. Well, good thing he has an airplane or two at his disposal. Maybe he'll fly out that way. Maybe he'll just fly on his own. All right. Ooh, okay. This is one that we didn't go over. So to be clear, did he leave his home? He fought with his parents and left. So he outright got kicked out in my mind. This never became relevant and it was never RP'd to fruition, but I had it in my mind that he was kicked out at 18 to kind of just fend for himself. Because that is a very, I don't know. I tried, when I was building and thinking about the character, I tried to think of as many things that are unique to America, or at least distinctive of the United States of America compared to other countries around the world. And one thing that has always stood out to me is that among a lot of people here in the United States, there is a big expectation that when you hit 18 years old, you got to go and do your own thing. You got to leave the parents. Whereas in a lot of other countries, it's more common to stay at home even well into adulthood and have like a shared family unit that thrives together as a big group. So I think, because, you know, Los Santos is very like Southern California, maybe like Texas adjacent. Like it's that southern border area of the United States of America. I tried to play on a number of United States things in building the character, including the thing with the film industry and the child actor history. That whole thing is just because Los Santos is a very clear parallel for Los Angeles. So that's why. So in my mind, there was an expectation, even in his case, to leave the nest at 18 years old. So rather than like fighting with his parents and leaving, he was kicked out and tried and failed a number of times to get support from them, and struggled badly with like fending for himself. Yeah, here in the States, it is seen as kind of weird if you live with your parents at 20 years old. Whereas in like, just to throw out a random country, say like somewhere in China, or honestly a lot of East Asian countries, it is very common, in my understanding, to be living with your parents well into like your 30s and to be sharing finances and have everybody in the house working. And then when your parents retire, you take care of them in the same house, is my understanding, right? Fact check me, please. I think this is common in a lot of countries, but here in the States, it is kind of the opposite. The expectation is that your parents spent a lot of money to raise you up to 18. So in order to make it easier for them to live, you should flee the nest and, you know, go to school and get a job, and you're on your own from there. And then when they're too old to work, if they don't have a good retirement plan, then you can support them then, usually by putting them into like a retirement home. It's a very different and honestly very distant culture. Yeah. But it does depend on the person. It does depend on the person. And honestly, it's probably the same in countries where it's more common to share a family unit. But yeah, here in the States, there's a very common expectation to do it super young. Like as soon as you graduate high school, have a plan for college, go to a dorm room and live on campus for those years, and then go straight into a job, have roommates if you need to make that happen, etc. So yeah, in my mind, he couch hopped for a bit and did what jobs he could. And in the economy, especially of a place like just California, I imagine it was very difficult for him. So that is a big part of what soured him to the point that he would be willing to take on crime. Yeah. How did Kyle and Luca meet? Luca Santos. So this one was only loosely decided beforehand. It was very vaguely communicated. When I it's kind of funny. Before I joined the server, this was like 4 days into the server, maybe like 5 days. I don't remember exactly how many days into the server it was. But the server had already started and I was not there because I was too busy. I was working hard and I was getting as much stuff done as I could. And I remember I was like, okay, I think I've made enough progress on my work that I could join. But would it be weird for me to join for the from the middle onto the end? Would it be weird to come in halfway through? And I remembered that Luca invited me to be in his gang before the server started. So I messaged him and I was like, hey Zad, would it be weird if I joined your gang from like Wednesday or Thursday onward? And then on stream, tell me why. On stream, this guy is like, guys, I just got an email. Somebody wants to join the gang. Yeah, and just kind of like set a precedent that they knew each other through RP. So I was like, all right, Luca knows my character. And Yukyun knows that my character's name is Kyle. So that decided the name too, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. I normally wouldn't have gone with a name like Kyle because I understand that people like to use that name to describe me in a way that can't be ego searched. Yeah, that was revealed to me during one stream, like what, 7 months ago. But yeah, all that was established there on stream was that his name is Kyle. He knows Luca Santos somehow. Never detailed together like how they knew each other or anything. I was just like, hey Zad, is it cool if I just included in my character that I know you and that I'm cashing out a favor? And then when I meet him at the cafe, he's like, Kyle from high school? that's what decided it. So I guess the understanding there is that they met in high school. Yeah, so that's the best way I can answer this question. That part was not planned ahead of time. It was just discovered spontaneously through RP. All that I knew going into it was that they had some tie, like some history. And honestly, high school makes perfect sense. Totally reasonable. Except Luca's like 76 years old, apparently. I don't think it's true. In my personal headcanon, he's just a liar. And not even a liar, like a joker would be more accurate because he's not lying out of maliciousness. I think his character just says things. Yeah, I don't think it's true. I don't think he's actually Princess's dad. I don't think he's actually 76 years old. In my brain, Luca Santos is very young and childish and goofy and has an ID that doesn't reflect when he was actually born. I think that guy is just a joker. I think he's a prankster, and I think him having an ID that is inaccurate is perfectly in line with the rest of his actions throughout the entire event. He just says things. He just says things. All right, let me find another one. Ooh, interesting one. What is Kyle's attitude towards acting? Does he look back at his past with any fondness? So, to tell you the truth, he has a very complicated relationship with acting in my mind. I say in my mind because I feel like anything that didn't happen in RP on the screen during the event, even as the person behind the character, I don't feel like I can call it canon in good conscience. I feel like it's a headcanon if it didn't happen on the screen, even if I'm the one that says it or wants it to happen. But yeah, in my mind, he has a very complicated relationship with acting. It's on one hand, whenever he sees any reference or playing or showing of a film that he acted in as a kid, his stomach is like tied in knots. It makes him sick. He hates it. He does not remember it with any fondness or warmth. There are a couple of co-stars that treated him with kindness that he remembers warmly, maybe. Like some of the other actors that he worked with when he was younger. But as a whole, the experience of making those films and not seeing any pay for it in adulthood, it soured the entire thing for him. So how do I phrase this? The experience of being a professional actor is something that he hates. But the trained and practiced skill of acting is a tool that he sees as very useful. Oh my gosh, I almost got into this thought pattern this morning and I had to stop myself. And you were like, no, tell me. And I put a mental pin in it. When I was thinking of like trying to, how do I phrase this? Kyle Bifyre for me was a product of trying to think of a character that had some meaningful tie to Los Santos, which is very obviously Los Angeles, and also had some valuable skill related to this that would make him a good criminal. So my hope for him that I didn't really get to play out as much as I'd like to was to make him like a really convincing confidence man, like a con artist. I really wanted to use that actor lore a bit more in the case of like assuming a new identity and convincing people of things that are not true, or assuming a new identity and getting valuable information from people. But in our case, I feel like we got information by way of exchanging money and we never really needed anything. So there weren't any really valuable opportunities to do it that I noticed. So the only time I really got to play into that was whenever he was working his shifts at the cat cafe, at the Uwu cafe. That's when he leaned into that, like that acting ability. To him, that job was just a role that he had to play. Yeah, when I say scam, I don't even mean in the context of like upselling omelet rice. So that is a decent enough example. I was hoping to see a lot more of those. I was hoping that by the end of the RP, we could have assumed like 7 different identities and scammed a bunch of different people. Yeah, you see exactly what I was hoping for with what we did actually do. More than like driving the getaway car or cracking the safe or handling any guns in a shootout. In my mind, Kyle's skill and his value to the gang, at least I hope, was in handling negotiations and keeping a hostage in line through his tone and his demeanor and his words. So I'm hoping that it could shine in that way at least. But yeah, to him, being an actor is something he hates, like being a former actor, but being able to act is a very valuable tool that he will use whenever it's necessary or whenever it's beneficial. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can answer that question. Yeah, he's a smooth criminal. He's a smooth criminal. Ooh, okay. Does Kyle ever get recognized in public, or is he pretty much forgotten in the industry? So this is actually something I thought about writing in my bio on the Discord server so that other players could interact with this in an interesting way, but I wasn't sure about it, so I opted out of it. But in my mind, maybe once in a blue moon, he'll get like a, hey, has anybody ever told you that you look like Kyle Debonair? Because actually, when he acted as a kid, his parents did have one thing that they did for his benefit. They didn't cast him to films under his real name. Because his real name is Kyle Bifyre. That's his family's last name. Debonair is a pseudonym that they gave him to act under when he was a kid. So yeah, he may occasionally get asked like, oh, has anybody ever told you you look like that guy? Has anyone ever said that you resemble this guy? But I don't think he's ever, honestly, recognized as who he is. He's very much forgotten. Other way around, no. Maybe I could have done a better job explaining that. This is what I get for not releasing an ID. I thought about it, but I hyped myself. How do I phrase this? I talked myself out of it because I was late to the game. But yeah, in my mind, he's kind of like, as far as recognition as an adult, I want you to imagine the side character to like a Disney Channel or Nickelodeon kids show. All right. Specifically one with actors who are younger, like 12 or younger. I want you to imagine one of those actors, a side character, not the main character, just a side character from like a Disney Channel or a Nickelodeon TV show. And I want you to try and think right now of what they look like at like 24 years old. 23 years old, maybe. It's kind of hard, right? You don't actually know for sure. That's the best way I can explain where he is in the industry. Even though, in my mind, his films that he did as a kid were very successful, and realistically, he should be more recognizable. That's the gap that I have in my mind. Yeah, no, he does get almost recognized on occasion, but not really. He's kind of forgotten. The most he gets normally is like oh, you kind of look like that guy. Kind of like Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk is a good example of this. Tony Hawk is infamous on the internet for being like, has anybody ever told you you look like Tony Hawk? Was he a Disney child actor? No. This is just what I'm using as a comparison. As what I'm using as a form of comparison. Is Kyle rich? If so, how rich? Coming to Los Santos, he was not rich. Coming to Los Santos, he just barely had enough to make the ticket. Had no food before the flight, was really counting on that in-flight meal. Arrived in Los Santos with an empty stomach and a dry throat and passed the freak out and got ferried to the hospital immediately. So no, he came to Los Santos absolutely broke, turning out his pockets and they go like, and he was struggling like that for several years, pretty much since he aged up and was like no longer dependent on his parents for support. But post Los Santos, now that he has an introduction into crime and the crime scene, he is considerably wealthy. I had like, I think 1,400,000 in my pocket at the end of it. 1 million of that actually came from selling a voice pack, but we can ignore that detail. But when you split the heist money, I think he should have a good like 4 or 5 million total. Yeah, I think he should have a good 4 or 5 million United States dollars. Yeah, we never ended up splitting the last heist because nobody had anything they needed to spend money on. And that is just from the heist in Los Santos. I imagine that this is just my again, headcanon. It didn't happen on the screen, so I don't consider it to be true canon. But in my mind, after leaving Los Santos and after the Bachelors disband, he continues doing crime. In my mind, he becomes a bona fide con artist. Maybe he gets together with other con artists, confidence men. Maybe he's just doing stuff on his own. But I think he continues scamming and robbing. And I think he does pretty well for himself to not get caught. Or to not suffer too much for it if he does get caught. I think he learned a few tricks about slipping away unnoticed. The Bachelors disband. That much is kind of canon. How do I phrase this? Disband may be too strong of a word, but the Bachelors went their separate ways, and Luca did say in character that the Bachelors were officially over. So, yeah. The Bachelors were just a Los Santos gang, and everybody's leaving Los Santos, so... Like The Great Pretender? Yes! Yes! Oh my gosh, The Great Pretender was probably my big muse for this one. I talked before when we did VCraft and we debriefed after VCraft. A major inspiration for Calvin was an anime that I love called Overlord. And to an extent, also an anime that I really, really love called Dungeon Meshi. Another of my favorite anime is Great Pretender. It's in my top 5, maybe my top 3. It may be my second favorite anime ever now. Second or third, actually. Because I still do love Boku Daken ga Inaimachi. But yeah, I love Great Pretender so much. And Great Pretender was a big inspiration when I was building Kyle's character. Yeah, I think when I make these characters, I try to combine the inspiration of something that I really love with a little slice of my personality. So for Calvin, in VCraft, back when we were talking about Minecraft still, for Calvin, it was a combination of an idea that I had watching Overlord, an anime that has homunculi created to serve in the Great Tomb of Nazarick. Combining that with the way that I used to view the world and the way that I used to view myself. some of my older, less healthy thought habits and stuff as a kid and as a teen. I kind of fused those together and they became Calvin. For Kyle, I fused an anime that I really love called Great Pretender, which has a lot of con artists, with a slice of my personality, which is that this is something I kind of avoid talking about publicly, but I have a history with the male modeling industry, and it's not entirely a positive experience that I talk about. I don't know. I learned good things and I met beautiful people, and I had some really good times, but some not so good times. So I kind of fused those things together and they became Kyle. So I'm really curious to see what like a third character could look like in the event of another RP server. I'm curious about like what layer of myself would I breathe into the character, and what source media that I love would I put into the character too. But yeah, leaving Los Santos, Kyle is basically just Mr. Monopoly. He's got bags of money. He entered there absolutely broke. No meaningful experience with crime. Just accepting odd jobs. Honestly, going to the cafe purely to get a job at the cafe. He did not join the cafe with any intention of doing crime. He was just looking for money. And when it was like, when he was wrapped up in crime, he was totally cool with it because he knew he could get money from it. And then he walks out just totally loaded. Got so much money. But he doesn't know what to do with it is his problem. Kyle has no idea what to spend the money on. He never got this far. He was stuck in a mode of survival for so long, and I think he still has a very frugal sense of how to spend money. He's not one to waste it, in my mind. So I think he'd continue to have like cheap food. He might dress nice though. I think he'd spend good money on good clothes. But I think he'd otherwise be pretty frugal. He's got that survival mentality. Ooh. Does Kyle feel sad leaving the Los Santos and the Bachelor, leaving Los Santos and the Bachelors, or is he nonchalant about it? Again, if it didn't happen on screen, it's like dubious canon. More in the territory of headcanon in my mind, but in my mind, and the way that I was kind of perceiving the character and the experience of the character, and the way I was trying to RP him too, especially towards the end, he had a really hard time trusting people for a long time because of his experiences. Even those co-stars that he worked with on films when he was younger that he did like and that he had good experiences with, he's just had a generally difficult time trusting people. And he had a very, at least going into Los Santos, he had a very walled off core. Like, he'll show you something flashy and attractive on the outside if he thinks it'll get him what he wants or what he needs. But he's never been very good at being vulnerable. And he views, I said this at one point out of character while we were playing. He views his relationships as roles to be played a lot of the time. He has a habit of thinking like, okay, when I'm with this group, I have to be this version of myself, and I have to behave this way, and I have to say these things. And if I do that, then I will get a good payout. Very transactional. That's a good word to use here. Very transactional relationships. But with the Bachelors, he, through, I think a big turning point for him, that if I were to name one, would easily be after the first successful, second attempted, but first successful Humane Lab heist, where he was bleeding out on the grass. I personally would not be one to perma-kill a character unless it made super, super good sense and was super important to the story. But thinking about it with the potential for him to actually die there, because, you know, he can't call the emergency services. He can't call an ambulance to go get him because he's going to be tied to the crime scene and he's going to get thrown in the slammer and it will ruin the success rate of the heist. So he was fully prepared to just bleed out and die there, and did not know if they would come get him because, you know, for his mindset and the way that he views the world, it's every man for himself. If you mess up, then you get left behind. Very Great Pretender. or at least in words. That's how he viewed the world when he came to Los Santos. Despite that, they all assumed crazy risk and drove back to the area that they escaped from, which they could easily be caught in, and which the police were still checking on by Air One. You know, the chopper, Arya, I think Arya is the pilot, right? Was still circling the area for a little bit. Did not see me, thankfully. I was able to hide in the bush. I got Kyle to a bush, but they very much could have been caught. They took on a lot of risk to go look for him, but they did it anyway. Not even knowing for sure if he was there. Because he couldn't, he was bleeding out. He couldn't use his radio to signal them anything. He couldn't, all he could do was scream with his broken voice. But they came back and they found him. And they saved him. And they kept that mentality of no man left behind. So for Kyle, I think that was a major turning point where he realized that not every relationship has to be wholly transactional. And he can afford to be a little vulnerable. In practice and in terms of like what actually happens on the screen, his interactions with them after that point may have looked exactly the same as the ones before. But in my mind, and this is loosely intentional, but I don't know if I could get it across, because again, it was a very silly and goofy group that I was with, so it's hard to do any meaningful, heavy, calculated RP. But in my mind, the good times that he was having with the Bachelors before that were very much like a calculated front that he was putting on in order to keep things going smoothly with the group. But after that, if he's like laughing and having fun with them, it is sincere. So I do feel like he feels a sense of grief with the Bachelors disbanding, but they gave him a lot that he can carry into the next city, you know? And there's no like, there's no saying that he never meets them again and never works with them again. It's just in a different context, maybe in a smaller group, maybe not in a group at all. But yeah, all that to say, I do feel like he feels a sense of sadness that he'll keep to himself as he flies away from the city. Because they get the delta, you know, they changed his worldview, they changed his perspective. Yeah. Very much found family. And that kind of thing is particularly important in the absence of a stable, like, blood family. You know what I mean? Like a inherited family. So yeah, they were very important to him, and they were very important to his growth as a person in what I would still consider a formative years, like a formative year. I feel like you're still growing until you're like, I want to say late 20s is probably where you're not growing as much. I think you grow for your whole life though. And I feel like your personality is susceptible to small changes and developments up until like your 80s and 90s. But yeah, this guy's still young and he's still learning. So similar to Calvin, but to a lesser extent, he has that potential for change. So I feel like it would be a little sad to make these special connections and to experience that sense of like vulnerability and then to lose it. And honestly, I mentioned the Humane Labs heist, but this goes twofold after the big bank heist at the end, where, you know, this is a gang that actively avoided actually using their guns. We were stocked up on guns and we had plenty of bullets. We had heavy artillery and cool weapons, but we never used them, especially against the police, because we wanted to avoid a shootout, and ultimately we didn't really want to hurt anybody. We just wanted money. They just wanted money. So in that final standoff, that shootout, where, you know, they could have just gotten away. They could have gotten away multiple times, but they kept going back to make the car chase more fun and exciting. And Kyle ended up getting caught, and they went to save him again. And then you've got Yu Kyun, who is known to kind of stand off and separate from the group and go his own way, who is now like tanking cop after cop, shooting them all down just for the slimmest chance of saving a couple of the gang members. I feel like after an experience like that, it would be very difficult for Kyle to move on wholly without any emotions. You know, he's not going to be nonchalant about that. Yeah, once again, they could have benefited insanely from just leaving him behind. He contributed very little to that heist. He had nothing of value on him. He basically was just a decoy to distract the police and ended up getting caught in the crossfire. But they went back to save him anyway. Twice in that particular case, because not only was Kyle left behind for a second there, it was also Justin. Yeah, no man left behind. Yeah. All right, let's see. Ooh, this is an interesting one that is, I imagine, significant to Prophet's character to some extent. Loosely significant to Kyle's. How does Kyle feel about Prophet Margins by the end? If you did not know, Prophet Margins was Kyle's stalker. He served him once in the cafe and he was kind of followed and messaged like crazy ever since. Prophet Margins as a character cracked me up so bad as a player. Kyle hated his... Oh my gosh, Kyle hated this guy. Kyle could not stand Prophet Margins. He got the ick. He got sick to his stomach just thinking about him. And he personally is not a fan of that, like... It's a bit of a cliche for someone to do something because of, in this case, quote, every mental illness ever. Prophet Margins was diagnosed with every mental illness in the DSM-5. It's a very common cliche for people to do that and then excuse their behavior. Kyle's not having that. Kyle is not having that. He wants nothing to do with Prophet. He wants to wash his hands of the entire incident and never speak to him ever again. Yeah, he does not believe for a second that Prophet has changed. He will not believe for a second that he's changed or that he's capable of change, and he doesn't even want to know, nor does he care if he changes. Filled him a little... Oh no, I as the player was obsessed with it. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So I was trying my best to fuel it in a way that made sense for Kyle, who was disgusted with him and just wanted his money. Kyle just wanted him to come back and spend money at the cafe once he actually made some. Yeah, he could not stand it. He couldn't take it at all. So yeah, by the end of it, his stance did not change. If anything, it only soured. Unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know if that like bursts a bubble or shatters a hope, but you know, he was creeped out. He did not like it. He was not receptive to that attention. He saw him as like a clinger on from a job that he's already quit. The silence in the car was funny. I hope that it was felt by everybody else, because that was very intentional. I tended to play Kyle as a bit more of a quiet character who prefers to listen so that he can learn things. Because the more you talk, the less you learn and the more information you give out for free. He thinks information is valuable, so he's more of a listener. But that was also a calculated choice I made to save my voice a little bit. But yeah, it was... That particular gap of silence was 100% intentional and was meant to be felt. No, he was not having it. Yeah, I'm glad that Wilson noticed. Yeah, he was not comfortable with that. I was eating it up though. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. An important thing to clarify, because I think this is a new incident where I'm playing a character who has a very strong distaste for another character who is also played by a real human being. Just to be clear, I as the player, I gobbled Prophet Margins up. I thought he was hilarious. I also hated Prophet Margins. He is the most unlikable, annoying character ever, but I love annoying, unlikable characters so much. I love them so much. So I was eating it up. I was hoping for more every day. But yeah, Kyle could not stand him. So it was an interesting dynamic to play out, like a character that wanted nothing to do with him when I as the player was eating it up.
Chatted with the liver behind Prophet. Oh, Prophet isn't played by a liver. He's an independent talent. Yeah, he's not a NIJISANJI, but I have talked with Lambriel a little bit. Yeah, he would talk to me a little bit out of character before or after streams to like communicate about whether we wanted to do like a bit or something. Yeah, making sure that he wasn't pushing any boundaries, which I really appreciate, because in an event like this where you're playing with strangers, there's very serious risk and potential of pushing a boundary without realizing it, or of becoming like a nuisance to others. And I personally was scared of that too, like becoming a nuisance to others or RPing in a way that was annoying for people. So to have somebody reach out about it was very welcomed, and it was very nice. Yeah, I appreciated that, especially in the case of his character, where he's playing a character that obviously like assumes a bit more of that risk. Yeah, he's cool. All right, let's find another one. Ooh, okay, this is gonna be a fun one to think about. Favorite moment with each bachelor. All right, I could go in the order they join. I could go, or maybe I could go in reverse order. All right, we'll go reverse order. So starting with if we I'm trying to think of if we count Neil or not, because Neil is like an honorary Zadling. He was there to guard the house, but he wasn't like a formal member, I think. But with Neil, I would say my favorite interaction was the fact that Neil beat Prophet up and offered to like send him evidence and everything, and like used his name to get him there or whatever. So yeah, that would be my favorite interaction with Neil personally. It cracked me up so bad seeing that video from tonight. It killed me so bad. I wish I would have remembered to respond to that in character. I, as the player, was dealing with so much. I completely forgot to reply to it. Yeah, Kyle liked that a lot. Kyle appreciated that. It was like, ah, yeah, there it is. And then Justin would be after Neil. With Justin, my personal favorite would be the first heist they did together, where they're sitting outside of the convenience store smoking. Yeah, they're sitting outside or standing outside the convenience store smoking and just having a chat, getting to know each other a little bit. As a player, that was really nice for me because it brought me back to VCraft. I haven't really interacted with or collabed with Leo since VCraft, so it was very refreshing to experience another day 10 of a massive collab server where he turns to the dark side and we have a chat about it. Yeah, so I liked that one a lot. And then before him would be Sena. I was really happy to play with Sena. He's a good friend of mine. Let's see, what would my favorite with him be? We had a lot of fun just messing around on the island, and we were alone for a good while then, so that was pretty good. I think I liked when we were posing on the jet, or the plane. I liked when we were posing and like making it look like a selfie. I think I have a photo of this actually. I saved as many photos from my phone as I could after the stream ended. And I let's see, hold on. Yeah, I think I have it. I have it. Do you want it? Do you want to see it? Here, I'll put it on screen. Are you ready? Yeah, I got a photo of this one. Yeah, I really like that. I thought that was really fun. Saying I brought out a goofier side of Kyle. Yeah, it was a good time. And then Kyle was before Sena, right? So there's nothing to say there. Before Kyle was Yukyun. What was my favorite moment with Wilson? Thinking emoji. I feel like I didn't have as many one-on-one moments with Wilson. With Wilson, a lot more of our interactions were in groups. Think. Actually, no, I know what it is. It was when Wilson was down because he couldn't do crime. I think Wilson as a player was down because he couldn't do crime. So Yukyun as a character was also down. So I was like, okay, I'm a former actor. I can use this. So I like RP'd as a hostage and like just made myself the biggest whiniest victim ever. Yeah, I think that was my favorite with Wilson. It cracked me up, but it also made me happy to hear that it made him feel better. Yeah, that would be my favorite with him. And then, let's see. Before him was Briscoops, right? Do I have the order correct? And with Briscoops, we had several. We had several one-on-one interactions. And honestly, it's hard to name a specific singular interaction because we had so many, like, just slow, quiet drives where it was just the two of us talking. And I really appreciated that. I appreciated that a lot. I'm trying to... Are you Korean? Or no, he didn't say, are you Korean? He said, you look Korean. I think my favorite with him, though... I feel like Luca would have ended up doing the exact same thing, and Luca led the charge, but when they were finishing the Humane Labs heist, it was Sunny Briscoops that kept going over the radio like, Kyle's probably still on the mountain. We have to go look for him. So that was a favorite of mine. He kind of pushed that a little bit harder and was, I think, the first one to start saying it. And in the moment, Kyle hearing his radio but not being able to press the button because his fingers were too weak, he was like, don't tell them, but you're my favorite. Yeah, for him, Briscoops was very much like an older brother that he never had. Somebody's brother. That's not even my joke. Yeah, Luca was very much pushing it too. I think it was just that Sunny was the first one, at least in my memory. Yeah. So honestly, by extension, that also kind of becomes a favorite with Luca, but I'm going to try to think of a distinct one anyway. But before Sunny was Shu, right? Favorite moment with Shu. Did we have any good one-on-one moments? I feel like similar to Wilson, most of my interactions with Shu, and Luca's going to be the same issue. Most of our interactions were in small groups. Oh, was Jimmy after Shu? Oh, I got my order wrong. So it was Jimmy after Shu. So Shu's Zadling number 1. Oh, I thought Jimmy was number 1 and Shu was number 2. With Jimmy, okay, hold on. We'll do it in the right order. We've done it in order so far. Sorry, I mixed up the order. I wasn't there when they joined, obviously, so I got the order wrong. Zadling 2. Yeah, Jimmy's Zadling 2. Shu is Zadling 1. Okay, so Jimmy, it's got to be our double date, right? That was like a whole episode. That was a whole fun episode. It's got to be the double date. In particular, to name a moment from the double date, I think my favorite would be, and I mentioned it a few times, it stood out to me so much. The fact that he had, leading up to this moment, he pushed Nissan off of a high area and killed her. Like, she was dead in his arms, and he carried her around while we figured out a situation to get the ambulance there. And another character is like, oh yeah, we were just talking about how Kyle sees you as a brother. And he's like, you mean that, Kyle? And he drops Nissan's dead, dilapidated body on the ground to pull Kyle in for a bro hug. Yeah, to dap him up. Literally drops her dead body to dap him up. Oh my god, that cracked me up so bad. He was like, bring it in, man. Oh, he didn't push her. He just told her to jump. I see. I didn't personally witness it. I was only going by the way it was described to me through secondhand accounts. But yeah, that would be my favorite moment with freaking Jimmy Umami, Sanpaku. Oh, it cracked me up so bad. But that whole double date episode was so good. And like trying so hard to wingman, and then him doing literally everything in his power to mess it up. It was so funny. Yeah, that would be my favorite with Jimmy. With Shu, thinking of individual interactions is kind of tough, but there was a time when he was kidnapped to get my attention, and that was kind of funny. Was there another interaction that we had one-on-one? Oh, I'm almost sad because I love Shu. I love that guy. Yeah, I feel like most of our interactions were in small groups. I don't know if we had a big duo moment in the server this time. Yeah, meow meow. There were pretty funny shenanigans at the cafe. We had a funny little fight over sandwiches. Yeah, we had a little funny fight over sandwiches in the prison. Oh, when he got when he got arrested because of me, maybe. No, that's not my favorite. I can't. That was like my one time actually being chased by police as the driver, and I totally choked under the pressure. I was doing a decent or even a good job driving up until that point, when I was just one of many decoys and distractions. But the moment they were pursuing me, I totally choked under the pressure and crashed and had to abandon him. Honestly, I feel like to name a favorite, I guess it might be the prison fight. Or maybe it was the hostage situation where he was kidnapped, but that was less of an interaction with him, so much as like a moment that he was significant to, you know? Yeah. It's kind of tough. I feel like with Shu, I had a bunch of small moments, but no big moment. Yeah, I'll just name the hostage situation as a whole. I'll name the hostage situation as a whole, because that was very funny, and that was very memorable. I will name that one. And then that brings us to Luca. Oh, man. Same dilemma with him. I feel like most of our interactions were in groups, because Luca was very busy in this server. Oh my gosh, he was running not only the ship of the Bachelors, but like the whole server to an extent. I understand he was like regularly communicating with mods like, okay, this feature that we have is too strong. Please debuff our strength here. Please buff this person's thing. So thinking of like a one-on-one is kind of difficult. That guy was everywhere and he was with everyone. The Zad father. I will say Zad checking as a whole is very precious to me. And I really, yeah, thinking about something he did a lot. This is not a single isolated moment, but more just something he did consistently was, as the gang grew larger, he never faltered in like keeping everybody involved and included in the heists however he could. Outright coming up with plans that would make use of everybody. Yeah. No Zad left behind. But it's hard to name like a favorite singular moment that was specifically just with him. Yeah, I think genuinely almost all of my interactions with Luca were in groups. But I did really, really appreciate how hard he worked on the server and how hard he worked to keep everybody included and to give everybody fun. You like the beach episode? I have that. I think I have that too. Hold on. Wonder if I can save this. Can I save this media? Can I play it? Hold on, let me see. What happens if I do this?
That stupid Eldanes from your trendy trends. Stop it!
For you, darling,
Stop dancing
don't be
immediately.
afraid. I will love you for 1,000
your activity.
years. Where'd he go? I'm so emo. Yeah, that was really funny. That was a really funny time. Oh, I have so many pictures. You want to see more pictures? Here, I'll get you some more pictures from the... I'll get you some more pictures from this. But yeah, I guess more than a single favorite moment with Luca, I would say my favorite experience with Luca specifically, because almost all of our experiences were in groups. I think it would be just the way he fought so hard and so consistently to include everybody. It meant a lot to me because I joined really late. which makes it very, very difficult for me to have like a full experience compared to people that are there from day one. Especially in the case of a server like this where the cap for most heists is 4 people per gang. So joining the gang as the 5th or 6th member is kind of detrimental. Yeah, I love that guy. He's so awesome. So sweet, so hardworking. All right, here, let me get you some more photos. Let's see. I'll get you a bunch. This is my personal favorite photo that I took during the event because I think it has potential as like a reaction image. Do you agree? Do you see my vision? This is me when I'm troubleshooting to set up a stream. Yeah, the mod who would appear as a monkey sometimes. Ooh, this one's also classic. This one's in landscape, so you can get a full screen of this one. Yeah, this is a very funny moment. I actually got 2 of this one. I got 2 of this one. Hold on. Where's the other one? Yeah, they took 2 angles. You can have a lock screen version too. Yeah, this is funny. I like this selfie. This isn't like funny or memorable in any particular way, but this is from when I was on the bus. We did not successfully pull off this bus heist because they ended up outrunning the cops instantly like usual. But I like this selfie because it feels very real. Like it's in a game and you can see the pixelation and the artifacts and stuff and the hair and everything and the clipping. But it has the feel of a real selfie to me. So I liked that one. And then we got this iconic shot of Briscoops skateboarding over a cop car while carrying somebody. It's kind of crazy, right? It's a pretty sick shot. That guy's so cool. We got the location of the C4 dealer. The NPC that we got explosives from. And that ended up being Kyle's main role in the last big heist was handling C4. So this meme image of him just having to do it to you, he just had to do it to you, is actually kind of significant. I took, let's see. This selfie was not taken on stream. This was one that I brought Kyle's body to the airport to take an oriful photo at the end of the server when they closed it. And this is like a selfie I took on the way there. Yeah. I always like that Kyle's glasses are black, but in darkness they kind of reflect yellow. Yeah, is that all my photos that I saved? Yeah, I think that's all the photos I saved. I saved a video of Jimmy at the talent show, though. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't take very many photos in this server, which is surprising because I am known to be very normal about taking photos, right? The moment a game gives me a camera, it's like a problem. Group photo, I do have that. Hold on. So I've shown that before. We have a couple of these. We have the video,
Jesus.
which is in
Bob.
My goodness.
Our fries are soggy.
whoa, it's in what is this, portrait? And then we have the wallpaper version, which is in landscape. It's my boys. I love the Bachelors. I love our cool white suits. I'm so happy that we were matching in this photo. I hate so badly that for the bar photo, we were, how do I phrase this? I hate that for the bar photo, I was the only one in a suit because people are going to remember Kyle as always wearing a suit because of that. That's not how he dressed casually at all. I just didn't get the chance to change. We were too busy. So yeah, I like the one where we're matching. Operation Blinding Lights. Kyle only wore a suit when he was on the job. He misunderstood. Basically, every time we went to that place, that building, what is it? The skyscraper where we'd have the meetings with bad guys. Anytime we'd go there, we'd usually suit up and even mask up. So I was like, all right, we mean business. Skyline, thank you. Yeah, the Skyline Lounge. Basically, anytime we went there. All right, let's see. I need to take another one. Kyle's thoughts about Roku Nana and the other cops. Roku Nana gave him a bad vibe. I wish we could have explored it more. Yeah, Kyle would normally lay it on slightly differently when it comes to scamming people, particularly scamming cops. He'd lay on more of the charm. But the moment Roku Nana came in for that order, I don't know if it was just the way I was reading it, but she was spitting venom. She was like, I'll just take this. I hate you. Yeah, I got a very hostile vibe. So I was like, all right, how can I get her out of here as fast as possible? I'm just going to outright acknowledge that I'm charging her a higher price. I'm going to say it in words. And it worked. Yeah, he got a bad vibe from her. He did not like her. He did not like her energy. He saw her as like condescending and hostile when he was just, you know, he was just doing his job. He's just doing his job. As for the rest of the cops, he sees them as hurdles and like in the way. Either that or as like incompetent fools that are good for a laugh. It's kind of funny. He disliked Roku Nana because he saw her as condescending. But he himself is actually very condescending when it comes to the police. He sees them as incapable. Which, just to be clear, this is not a judgment that I am making about the players. They worked so hard and I have so much respect for them. And I genuinely wish I could lock in as hard as they did on anything, in or out of a video game. But yeah, because he had such a lucky streak with the Bachelors, being a passenger princess to such skilled drivers and constantly getting away, in spite of the great effort on the behalf of the players, he saw the LSPD as foolish. Yeah, so he sees them as like easy targets and easy wins, and he kind of slots them as something different from the rest of humanity because they've only ever really been ops or something to take advantage of, especially in the case of Omi. Omi and Dwemer, I think, are a bit different from the rest to him, because Dwemer is like one of the bros. He's very goofy, very silly, and he's like, as far as danger to his crime life goes, Dwemer is ineffectual, you know? And then with Omi, he's kind of the same. He just wants to have a good car chase and will actively do things to keep the car chase going longer rather than ending it when he could. And at the same time, he's like funding the Bachelors through his massive orders at the Uwu Cafe. So he's kind of chill, right? He's not a threat. But when you get to the more serious officers like Serpico and Roku Nana, and I think the name was Arya, he sees them as, because he sees them as vaguely threatening, in his mind, he tries to reduce them to something ineffectual and harmless and non-scary. Yeah. Adler, is that what it was? Thank you. Yeah. The pilot, the one behind the helicopter. I wasn't in the LSPD, and I would only ever hear their names when they said them to each other during chases and stuff. So yeah, it's a little hard for me to remember everything perfectly. Yeah, I was not in the LSPD. Captain Adler. Yeah, when it comes to those more serious ones, he has a general dislike for them and distrust for them. He does not like the feds. They get in the way of his dream life that he's now living. Arya Adler. Adler's definitely what I heard more. Yeah, that's how he feels about the police department, just in general. That's his limited, biased perspective. Through very, very limited perspective, I will say. Very limited experience. Because in most heists, he really was just a passenger princess. He was there. He would handle negotiations in some cases, but he was not the one doing all the bad stuff for the most part. Yeah, he was just there to look pretty. This is just his biased view. Hmm. Do sirens make you nervous, IRL? Me too. Me too. Genuinely, I get a little nervous whenever I hear police sirens in real life because of this. Even though I've done nothing wrong. And I keep, I've seen other people mention this too on Twitter. I keep imagining the radio sound in my head. Like I hear the little, da-da, da-da. I keep imagining that I'm like not hearing the radio properly, and I'm like, oh, I need to turn it up. I'm missing something. Ooh, this is kind of funny. Unrelated to Kyle, but related to District 5. Do you have anything you can share about who your LSPD character Sid Garrett would have been? Yeah, you may have thought it was pronounced Sid Garrett because Garrett is an actual name that people have, but it's pronounced Garrett. Sid Garrett would be his name. Here, I'll actually, I have a notepad in my phone. I have a note where I wrote down basic thoughts about characters because you may know, I mentioned on Twitter that I was originally lined up to be in, well, hold on, I'm looking for it. I was originally lined up to be in the LSPD, but you may not know that I was also lined up to do EMS after that. I was like, I just wanna have a chill time, and I'd like to be around as many livers from NIJISANJI as possible because I know these people already, and I'm less scared around them because they're not strangers. Here, I'll just read out the bios. I'll do it in reverse order. So Kyle Bifyre is the character I ended up playing. Quote, once known publicly under the pseudonym Kaelix Debonair, he retired from acting with a strong distaste for the industry and for those working in it. His most recognized work was as a child actor, and almost all of the royalties went to his parents, who keep finances under strict lock and key to this day. He's worked a number of odd jobs in other cities, but he's really struggled to make ends meet on his own. Hopeful for companionship, or maybe just desperate for money, he calls on the help of an old friend in Los Santos. That's the bio I wrote for Kyle Bifyre, and it's the most detailed of the three because that's the one I ended up locking in and thinking about more seriously. The second one... okay, hold on. I need to get a character here. One sec. Okay. Sorry, I don't have this character on my keyboard. The second one was for EMS. His name was Kevin Turnal Blading. You could read it as Kevin Turnal Bleeding. It would be pronounced bleeding. But the correct pronunciation would be more like bleeding. Bleeding, because of the way that vowel is pronounced. It's meant to sound like internal bleeding. Kevin Turnal Blading. The quote for this one, like the bio, the rough bio that I wrote when I was thinking of doing EMS, was quote, this was written in the middle of the server, so there were there was chaos and everybody was known for twerking and messing around in their downtime. So this is what I wrote: sent in from out of state due to the chaos of the current EMS roster. He's a bit of an anxious worrywart and prefers for things to be as neat and organized as possible. He gets really sick whenever he sees injuries and is even prone to throwing up. So I wanted to make him like a doctor or a surgeon or a paramedic who is really, really squeamish when it comes to bodily harm and injury. And I wanted to make him just freak out all the time. But in the end, I was like, no, EMS is overstaffed. I can't do EMS. I'm just gonna get in the way. They already have like not enough cases to handle. I should leave these cases to the people that are already there. And then they ended up losing people as a result too. People ended up leaving EMS to thin it out a bit more. So I ended up calling on that offer from Luca to be in the gang. But before everything, before the server even opened, I had written this. When I was lined up to train for LSPD, this is what I wrote. Sid Garrett. Hold on, I'll write this one too. Sid Garrett. A police officer who wants to smoke a cigarette really badly, but he just can't. His mom said he's not allowed. He talks nonstop about how badly he wants a cigarette, and he tweets cigarette-related things every hour. Everybody hates this guy. That's what I wrote. The reason for this is that I don't know if it's because I started using the cigarette emoji, because I love the cigarette emoji. I think it's a really effective emoji for conveying exhaustion and annoyance and fatigue. But I've recently been getting tweets on my feed about cigarettes. I think I'm on cigarette Twitter. I don't know what happened. I don't know if cigarette Twitter is just spontaneously bursting into existence or if I've just gotten fed to it, but I'm getting so many tweets about cigarettes lately. So I was like, all right, if I'm a police officer, I'm going to make it everybody's problem that I'm on cigarette Twitter. Yeah, that's why I specifically said smoking ideation. He doesn't actually smoke any cigarettes. He's not allowed. His mommy said he can't. His mom said he's not allowed to smoke. So he doesn't smoke a single cigarette. Maybe the story ends with him having his first one and he ends up hating it or something. But he thinks he's constantly, if cigarette was in the game, I would have constantly been like, you sick criminals make me need a cig real bad. Oh, I'd love to have a nice smoke. Who wants to go for a smoke break? Oh, never mind. I just can't. I would have made him the most annoying thing ever. And every single hour, I would go on Birdie and I would tweet about how bad I wanted a cigarette. And I would tweet cigarette inspo stuff. That's what I was going to do. But when I saw all the call signs and all the the signals and rules to be followed as a police officer, I just got so stressed out. I think I could have handled being a police officer in another time. But at the time of this server, I had so much work that I was handling, and I knew that it would have just become a headache for me. It would have just become a headache, and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy it. I would have just gotten stressed out, personally. I saw it coming, so I backed out. But yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna make a character who just really, really wanted to smoke because he thought it looked cool, but was not able to, and was very stubborn, like, no, I can't. Even if somebody offered him one, he'd be like, no, I just can't. Like the most annoying guy. Everybody hates Sid Garrett. That's what I would have done. I will say, I don't know if I would go with this character in the event that I play again in the future. And in the event that I do the LSPD in the future. I don't know that I would pull out Sid Garrett, but that's what I was gonna do. Just so you can imagine that timeline. It's kind of funny to imagine what it would have been like actually if I had gone through with LSPD with this character. Because the LSPD were like high-key traumatized. All of them had dead relatives and dead loved ones, and they're all just like, they're all actually having smoke breaks where they're trauma dumping everything over the like standing on the roof of the LSPD, you know, and they're all just dumping all this lore. And just imagine this, all right? Imagine that they're having a smoke break, and this is where I lost my wife, Sid. And he's like, oh man, you make me want a cigarette real bad. That would have been a nightmare. That would have been the most annoying thing ever. It's a good thing that I didn't join. Yeah, no, they're at Macaroni's funeral procession. They do the formal police honorary firing into the sky. And after the last fire, he's like, God, I'd love a cig right now. It'd be a nightmare. He'd have the worst timing ever. It would have been the worst stain on everybody's RP ever. It is the greatest service to the LSPD that I backed out and did not go through with that. I know, he would have been a nightmare. He would have been a nightmare. Yeah, no. I was exactly where I was supposed to be with the Bachelors. But that is what I was that is what I was thinking I was gonna do when we were still in like the pre-launch era of people training and learning and testing the server out. I was gonna play Sid Garrett. Maybe I'll pull him out as like a one-off character at some point in the future. That's something I'd really like to try, actually. I don't know if anybody's asked this question, but I'll go ahead and just say this now. Someone actually in the server sent the clip of me talking out of character in a feminine voice, and they were like, please play a girl in the next RP. There were a couple people who played multiple characters in this server. Like, I think, for example, Nissan Beep Beep also played Bullpit. Yeah, I don't know if you know, that was the same person. The same player was behind Nissan Beep Beep and Bullpit. And, you know, like, Leo, he played Just in Time / Just Insane, as well as Just in Case. He had 2 characters that he played. There were multiple people that did multiple characters. So, in a future server, now that I have a more, like, thorough understanding of how this game works, there is very reasonable plausibility that I could pull out a secondary or even a tertiary character halfway through the server whenever things are slow on whatever my main character is. Yeah. Yeah, there were multiple people that played multiple characters. Yeah, no, I don't know about playing a criminal and a cop at the same time. I think Leo made it work for him, but yeah, I think I could pull off like a one-off character, just like as a joke or something. Like for one specific day, here comes Sid Garrett, but he's not an officer. Maybe he's just like a regular dude, just a civilian. Or like we could pull out like a girl character at some point. I could never play a girl for a whole server though. I would die. Honestly, even just one day of RP, like one full 10-hour day of doing the feminine voice, I think it would kill me. I think I'd actually die. I'd have to just end the whole server. I wouldn't be able to play anymore. But that could be something I pull out as like a gag or something. Yeah, I do not have the power that freaking Frayed has playing Dweemer, Peyton Dweemer for 10-hour days every single day. I'm not as strong as he is. I could never do that. Ever play Madeline? I don't think so. I think for Madeline, though this is VCraft rather than District 5. For Madeline, I kind of preferred for her to be somebody that haunted the narrative but never actually showed up. Jenna, I don't think I would ever play Madeline. And I don't think she'd ever realistically appear either. Oh, sorry. I just misclicked something. Oh, thank goodness. I thought I banned I thought I banned somebody that asked a question, but I didn't. I got so scared. Okay, this is a very easy one. Why did Bachelors become maidenless? All right, repeat the name. Repeat the name of the gang. I rest my case. They're the Bachelors. A bachelor is an unmarried man. They're bachelors. They have to be maidenless. That's just who they are. Bachelors forever. No, but to answer it more seriously in Kyle's case, I can't speak for anybody but Kyle. For Kyle, I don't know if he's ready for love, and I don't know if he wants it either. I realize this may be something that is annoying to people that love the romance in these servers and in these events, but for me, I think we should normalize characters that are totally uninvolved in romance and totally uninterested in romance. I love non-romantic characters. I love them so much. I love romance. I love it. I love like fluffy rom-coms and like romantic stories. And I love when people fall in love, and I love weddings, and I love when people date. I love it. I love it so much. But my favorite characters are always the ones that are totally unrelated to that stuff. There's chemistry between Kyle and Tonight, but his decision to not pursue a romantic relationship makes sense. Yeah, honestly, I think it could have hypothetically worked with Tonight had Kyle been a different person. Like had he reached a different stage of life maybe. But even then, I don't know if he was romantically interested. I don't even know if it was like an active decision like, Like, she's really good, but I can't. I don't even know if it was like that. I think in his case, he's just totally uninterested. He's so focused on his work and on, like, driving his life in a direction that he's proud of. It's just not something he wants or thinks about. Yeah. It's not something that he cares about. In my perspective, he would see tonight as a friend at most. Because he did unironically enjoy the conversations they had. I had a hard time playing those conversations out as a player because I'm weak to people that do voices like that. They're dangerous, male or female. I can't handle that. I don't care. I don't talk to me like that. Speak up. So I played it as cool as I possibly could, but I feel like for Kyle, tonight would be the kind of person that he has like a good smoke break with every now and then when things get too stressful. Like if he has a really good heist, or maybe like a really stressful heist that he just narrowly escapes, he might call her up. He might give her a call and tell her about it. I feel like it'd be somebody to talk to. Did that as maid, Kyle? It's easier when I'm doing it. I just can't handle it when people give it back. I can't. And I don't know. There's something about, like, I've said this before. People talking like that in general is rough for me, but it's specifically like deep voiced women and like higher voiced men. I don't know what it is. It's just dangerous. It's dangerous stuff. Stay away from me. Back up. Don't talk to me. Oh, God. Yeah. Ooh, this is a fun one to think about. Do you think Kyle would pull off disguises if he took crime seriously? Again, if it didn't happen on screen, I don't consider it to be true canon. This is just my personal headcanon that I imagine. Just a clarification again on that front, but I imagine, again, that after the server is over and after everybody leaves Los Santos, he continues doing crime as a con artist. And I think he would assume many characters and many personalities and faces and names in order to, as a means to that end. So I do think he would. I think disguises specifically may be a bit tough because he's very vain about the way he looks. He's very vain about like his hair and stuff like that. But I do think that he would have a way of assuming different personalities and names at least. Yeah, very Catch Me If You Can. If you've ever seen Catch Me If You Can, that's what I imagine him becoming after Los Santos. I imagine him becoming the guy from Catch Me If You Can, played by DiCaprio. I imagine him being exactly like that. You can just basically watch the entirety of Catch Me If You Can and just mentally project Kyle into it, and that's how I imagine it going, pretty much. Yeah, or like the guys from Great Pretender. I said earlier, Great Pretender is my main muse for Kyle, and it was what I imagined for him from the beginning. I kind of just projected him over Makoto Edamura the whole time when I was thinking of his character and building it later on. Would he assume a Phantom Thief element? Nah, I don't think so. That could be something to play with if I bring Kyle back in another server as a continued criminal, but I don't know if I would. I kind of feel like it may be good to go with something else. Ultimately, if they open the server again in the future, I'll probably go with something based on what everybody else is doing, because I like to play with people that I already know. I like joining a group of people that I'm friends with already. Yeah. But yeah, I consider him to... I consider... Whoa. How do I phrase this? In my mental palace, my mind palace, and in my personal headcanon for how the story goes after District 5, he becomes a con artist, and he becomes a really good one. So yeah, you could say he assumes disguises, but I don't know about really detailed ones. Let's see. Ooh, this is fun. I wanna see what you think about this. Would Kyle have a pet of his own? If he did, what do you think it would be? I personally don't think he would. As part of my headcanon, when he becomes a con artist, in order to avoid getting caught, he will never stay in the same city for longer than maybe a week. So I think a pet would be something difficult to keep up with. I don't think he would. Too busy. Yeah, we're on the same page. I just don't think he would. He's not gonna stay in one place for long. Otherwise, he's gonna get caught. I don't think he has any reason to keep a pet, and I think if he did, he would neglect it. Yeah, aside from not even being like, what is the word? Generally available for like the busyness of his work. I don't know if he'd be emotionally available either. You're right. Most I could see him doing would be like feeding wild animals. Like I could see him sharing a sandwich with like birds, pigeons in New York City, or Freedom City as we call it. I assume Freedom City is New York City whenever people say it. But yeah, I don't know if he could. I don't know if he could keep a pet. Most he would do is have like very brief interactions with other animals that are not his, like not kept by him. Yeah, having something to lose is also a very serious disadvantage. That's true. He may keep a certain distance from things like that, and also people like that, unless they're connected to him in his line of work. Because if you lose them, it can be, or how do I phrase this? If you care about something or care about someone, and that is known or easily inferable, it can be used against you by people that are in competition with you. Yeah, I don't think you would ever get a pet. I do not think you would get a pet. All right, let's see. Who is your favorite character out of oh wait. Oh, I understand this question. I read this wrong in my head, but now I understand. You're saying like a character that is in the Bachelors. When I read it, I was like somebody other than the Bachelors. I don't know if I have a single favorite. It might be Jimmy though. I really love Jimmy Umami. He cracked me up so bad. And it was a very refreshing experience because he was the only person in the Bachelors that I didn't know beforehand. So yeah, it might be Jimmy. Yeah, I love that guy. He cracked me up so bad. Every time he appeared, I was in a good mood. But it may be biased because, again, he's the only one that I met through this server that was in the Bachelors. Everybody else I met previously or worked with previously. So there's like extra attention there. Outside of the Bachelors, though, I think my favorite was freaking Mildred. I loved Mildred so much. She cracked me up. I was like starstruck when I actually encountered her in person for the first time. Because she cracked me up so much on freaking Birdie. Oh, I thought she was so funny. I thought she was so funny. I wish I... Actually, wait. I don't know if you know this. Oh my gosh. I can't scroll through the apps. I cannot scroll through the apps anymore from the server, but we did actually have a bot, actually multiple bots in the Discord server that archived every single tweet that was made. So if I wonder if I search Mildred, can I find the Birdie posts? Oh my god, they cracked me up so bad. Every day I would open Birdie and I would see something like, hold on. I would open Birdie and I would see something like this and it would just put me in a good mood. Oh god. Oh, it cracked me up so bad. It cracked me up so bad. Yeah, there were multiple bots that would archive different things from the server. So there is an archive of all of Mildred's tweets. Oh god. Whenever you guys tweet, everyone's phone goes off, but when I tweet, no one phone goes off. And anyone want me? Oh, she cracked me up. Yeah, I think Mildred was my favorite outside of the Bachelors. Just for the way she cracked me up. There are a lot of people that I really liked. And some that I liked for like non-funny reasons. Okay. Is his life as a criminal going to stop at some point, or is this something he plans to hold till a far future? He's not someone that thinks that far ahead. He likes the security of a plan, but he knows that plans fall through. He knows that it's impossible to control everything, and he knows that you need to be good at improvising. So in his mind, he has no plan for when to stop or if he will ever stop. Inevitably, I feel like he's gonna get caught up with the law, and he's gonna get arrested for life. Like he'll just get locked behind bars till death at some point. That's kind of what I see happening. Like later down the line, I see him keeping a solid nasty streak of like 10, 15 years maybe, and getting arrested forever. That's kind of how I see it going. But again, if it didn't happen on the screen, I consider it to be headcanon, even if it's what I imagine. Was that voice clip insinuating that he got arrested? Oh yeah, let's replay that actually before I talk about that. We could have several things to say about that. Here, I'll play it again really quick, all right? I'll play it again really quick. Let's go here.
Hey, Dad. It's been a few years. I won't sweat the fact that you screened my call. I don't need to ask you to know how you've been. It's a shame, though. I was going to tell you as soon as you picked up. This will be the last time you hear from me. I won't darken your doorstep for money. Love. I always knew I'd never see either. Anyway, you tell Mom this too, okay? I don't need you. Either of you. I never needed you. There's a lot I could say. I could talk about all the places I've been, all the people I've met, things I've seen, ways I've changed. I could swear at you, send you a rambling voicemail to tell you just how deeply you've wounded me. The thing is, Dad, I don't even care for you enough to give you that kind of performance anymore. Your punishment is to be what you already are. When everything dries up, don't come looking for me.
So, I realize that people actually see this as very angsty and sad, but I will say my intention is actually the direct opposite with this. I don't know if you're going to understand why, but I'm going to do my best to explain why. I actually intend for that to be a very happy audio clip. So this is what I was aiming to do when I wrote and recorded that. I was in a bit of a rush, so I apologize if my intention didn't come through as much as I wanted. So for me, what I wanted to do was create a lore audio clip that was a profession of his love for the Bachelors and the security that he's found with his new people, like his new group, his new family, but in a way that could be conveyed through a voicemail to somebody that is not also a player. Because I didn't want to involve anybody else in it. I didn't want to waste anybody's time getting permission or anything. And I didn't have much time to record it anyway. So what I did in order to profess and like declare his love for the Bachelors was I did it through veiled language to a parent that he is disowning. To parents that he is disowning. So that voicemail that he sent to his dad is basically a declaration of, I don't need you because I found what I wanted from you somewhere else, is basically what I intended for that. So to me, it's not actually a sad clip at all. I will say, I don't imagine that he gets arrested after that. In my mind, it's just like after escaping a heist. If you want to imagine a specific time for it, one that I imagined actually mid game, I was like, ooh, it could go here. Was do you remember the moment where we were at the casa and there were cops all over the place, and I saw Roku Nana, but she didn't notice me. So Kyle was like running like crazy to get out of there. Yeah, I imagine that it could have happened there when he was in the grassy area outside of the mansion. It could have been like some other non-specific heist that happened off this off the screen. The sirens do get louder, but I don't imagine that he gets caught after that voicemail. I just wanted it to be something that became more obvious. Like, oh, he's running from the feds right now. He's on the run. But it's like, he's so nonchalant about it that you can hear he's smoking a cigarette in the middle of the voicemail. And he has like 2 or 3 puffs of a cigarette. So he's on a smoke break. Meanwhile, the cops are closing in. But he's still got to get away. Because they didn't see him. He was like hidden somewhere. Yeah, I deliberately mixed the audio there so that the sirens got loud, but then got slightly quieter near the end. Yeah, I hope it didn't hit you with something really, really sad. I was not trying to inflict emotional damage. I was actually trying to think of a meaningful and sensible way to convey the opposite. But I could not think of a good way to do that didn't involve another character. Yeah. So that's what the intention behind the voicemail was. The intention was he's found another family and he does not need his parents anymore. They will not haunt his narrative anymore. He's moved on completely. That's just him conveying a very happy thing in a way that is kind of angry and aggressive. The best way I knew to do that was to be like, there's a lot I could say. I could tell you about the places I've been, the people I've met, the things I've seen, the ways that I've changed. He's referencing so many profound experiences that are so impactful on his growth and his life. But he won't actually give them the details because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve to know what he's loving and what he's experiencing. Yeah. So to me, it was a declaration of freedom and a declaration of love. Yeah, there is still kind of some angst there in the sense that they did haunt his narrative for the whole thing, but he's free now. He's free now. And on the screen, nobody really needed to know about any of that. That was just something he was keeping to himself. Need to act more. Oh, you flatter me. You flatter me. You're too nice. You're too nice. I need more experience. I'm an amateur at best. But I think being an amateur is a very good thing. I've said this before. I think being an amateur is awesome. The word amateur means one who does something they love or does something because they love it. Like the etymological definition of the word amateur. Ama being a root that relates to love and tuer being one who does. So yeah, I have no shame. When it runs dry, don't come looking for me. For me, the line that I liked was, I don't need to ask you to know how you've been. Like, I already know what you've been up to. Spending all that money. Oh my gosh, hi, Lan. Hi. I was talking about you earlier. Oh man. I hope you are recovering well. Yeah, I'm still going through it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping I can close this as neatly as I possibly can today. Hopefully good. Oh yeah, it was great. It was good stuff. I was talking about how Kyle would see Tonight as a friend and somebody that he would potentially call in the future after a job gone wrong. Just have like a smoke break over the phone. Yeah. All right, let me find another one. Okay, this I did actually mention in between questions, but I will clarify it with an official question here, just to set it in stone, at least for my headcanon. Is post-canon Kyle a drifter, or would he go to a new city and stick to it? Again, if it didn't happen on the screen, I consider it to be my headcanon, but I imagine that he would drift from place to place so he doesn't get caught. Yeah, I think he would never stay in the same city for longer than maybe 2 weeks, depending on the grandiosity of the heist he's planning. I think if it was a really big one or a really big scam, a really big plan involving lots of people or something really expensive, he might stay for up to a month if he could secure his alibi for that long. But Yeah, I think for him, it would be a game of being on the run pretty much all the time. Never visiting the same city twice, never staying in one spot for longer than a week or two. 2 parallel lines that like smoking is crazy. But yeah, very like, this came up earlier. I see him very much as the main character from Catch Me If You Can post District 5. That's what I imagine. But again, it's just my headcanon. You're free to imagine that he moves on from crime now that he's got multiple millions of dollars. He's a multimillionaire. And he could afford to do and live pretty much wherever he wants, scot-free. Even with his record, he's only really got minor charges for everything he did. So he could do a lot of stuff and live in relative comfort for the rest of his life if he wanted to. So you're free to imagine that he just finds love and gets married and lives out the rest of his life in a humble little village in the Alps. Yeah, my personal headcanon is that he becomes like a high-class confidence man and keeps a little bit of distance, but will have a certain fondness for the people he met in Los Santos, because that was a big pivotal moment for him. Ooh, okay. Are there any characters you wish Kyle got to spend more time with? Yes, several. One that I'll name is freaking Solomon Serpico. I was desperate for an interrogation scene. I wanted it so bad, and it never happened because we never got caught. And every time we got caught, it would be like a speed run to get us processed and sentenced to jail. I wanted to be I wanted the interrogation so bad because I wanted at least one good window to like just let everything out and do it in a really cool, orful way. And I knew that Vox Akuma could give it to me, but I never got the chance. He was too clocked in. He was a salary man the whole time, and I was in a gang that was really good at running away. Yeah, no, I desperately wish I would have been, like, interrogated. I should have done more on my own. I think if I really, really wanted it, what I could have done is I could have broken away from the group and done something really risky, like shot a cop earlier on. Something that would get me abandoned by the gang would be nice. Or like a sole arrest. I really wanted to engineer a situation where we escape Humane Labs and I'm driving a getaway car by myself with nothing on me. And everybody else has escaped separately without me. And they think that the car has everybody, so they chase it. And once they arrest me, everybody else is gone. I wanted to engineer a situation like that, but it just didn't end up happening. I ended up being offline the day we were going to go to Humane a second time. Yeah, that I would name Vox specifically. I really wanted to have an interrogation with Serpico. And I felt it coming too. I don't know if you... there was so much elation in me, and I don't know if it came through in the delivery, but in the final heist where Serpico caught me and tased me and sent me to the ground, and I let out a cry of pain, I was like, here it comes! He's gonna get me and everybody else is gonna escape! I'm gonna get my interrogation! And then they came and saved me like the freaking loving saints they are. So no interrogation, but still some really sweet, good stuff, right? But yeah, I felt it coming. I was like, I'm gonna be the only one who's arrested. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna get my interrogation. Yeah, then I got stuck in the death grip through the escort situation. Yeah, his boys loved him too much. But I felt it coming. I wanted to be the only arrest so bad. Because I felt like, I think the reason we get pushed through the process really fast whenever we were arrested is that it was always multiple arrests. And a lot of the people involved, like I said, it's a very goofy, silly group. So the RP is very light. But if it was just me and I went in with a super serious vibe and there was nobody else, I trust in my heart that whoever is processing me would match that energy. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to get arrested. Even if everybody was rooting for me to be saved and for the no man left behind mantra to be kept true, I desperately wanted that interrogation. I was hungering for it. I was foaming at the mouth when I thought I was going to get it. That being said, I would not have that situation any other way. Complete with the death grip goofiness, I have no complaints about that. I have zero complaints. No, genuinely, do not save me. I'm exactly where I want to be. Oh god. But yeah, that's somebody I would name that I wanted to interact with more. I wanted to be arrested and processed specifically by Solomon Serpico. I wanted to really get into it and have a back and forth with him. I knew it would be good. Oh man, that would have been so yummy. Okay. Let me double check something really quick. Da-da-da. Okay, I had to make sure it wasn't like a speed ping. Okay. Let's answer some more. I can handle a few more and then we'll have to wrap. Let's see, let's make it a good one. What do you want to know? What will we never do again? Ooh. If Kyle had an antagonist BGM, what would it be? I actually wanted to talk about this at one point. I wanted to figure out what his theme song or theme songs would be. Because a few of the other members of the Bachelors got that licked membership. I was not about to pay for all that. It was too much of a hassle for me to figure out, so I didn't end up doing it. But they played like known pop songs and stuff during the streams to keep it extra cool. What do you think his theme song would be? What do you think his song would be? What would be his theme of all the songs out there in the world? What would it be? What would his playlist be like? Because I don't know. I feel like my choices might be a bit pedestrian. Favorite music genre? Ooh, okay, that might be an easier question to answer because it's not one that really matters at all. What kind of music would he like though? Because I don't think I can just simply answer with what I like. Great Pretender, the song. See, I was actually about to say that, like Freddie Mercury. Oh yes, I knew you were. You know that one? Do you know that song? That could be it, honestly. It serves as the ending theme for Great Pretender, the anime, but it is actually like a released song. And I do feel like Kyle would probably like older songs, like 70s and 80s rock, maybe. But when I imagine sounds that suit him, I think of like kind of jazz, like very James Bond jazz. Twist of Fate. Oh, like Olivia Newton-John. That's a good one. Like 80s synth pop and like new wave. I could see that. It's gonna be a strange twist of fate, telling me that heaven can't wait. That could be it. Yeah. That's a classic. I think I'd go with Great Pretender, actually. That's a pretty good one. Because hold on, let's look into the lyrics of this song a little bit. Let's do some The Great Pretender. Let's do some lyrical interpretation. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender, pretending I'm doing well. My need is such I pretend too much. I'm lonely, but no one can tell. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender, adrift in a world of my own. I play the game, but to my real shame, you've left me to dream all alone. Too real is this feeling of make-believe. Too real when I feel what my heart can't conceal. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender, just laughing and gay like a clown. I seem to be what I'm not. I'm wearing my heart like a crown, pretending that you're still around. I'm sorry. Like, it's a pretty good fit because like I've said, throughout, especially the first 90% of his run on stream, Kyle treats his relationships with people as roles to be played and ways to pretend, ways to act, things to say, voices to put on. It was just a collection of roles. And he wasn't very authentic with most of the people he met. And it made for actually like a high-key awkward interaction with Tonight, which I will say as the player was made more awkward by the fact that I was just barely holding myself together. But with Tonight, he was not there on any work agenda. So his conversation with her was a bit of a difficult one for him to approach. He didn't know how he had to behave or how he had to act in order to walk out of that one. and he had no interest in playing the part of like a suave, handsome man who's romantically interested either. But yeah, it's a pretty good fit. And like I said, it was used as the ending theme for the anime that served as Kyle's main inspiration, like when I was thinking of the character. So that could be the song for him. The Great Pretender, Freddie Mercury. Yeah. Oh, yes. It's classic. Behind the Mask. Persona 5, right? That's kind of Jimmy's theme song, though, in a way, because that's what Sanpaku played during his streams, right? Where have you been? Been searching all along. That's a good one, though. That's a good one, too. Because he is kind of like a shapeshifter. One that just, like, changes his approach and his vibe based on what he needs and who he's with, what he's standing to gain. Michael Bublé's Feeling Good. I actually thought that one immediately when I read Antagonist BGM, but I feel like it's too obvious. It's such an obvious choice that I almost don't want to accept it, you know? Michael Bublé, Michael Bublé Feeling Good. That is such a, like, oh, I want a jazzy villain song. And I'm feeling good. Like, it's so obvious. I don't know. It's just too easy. It's too cliche. I can't accept it. It needs to be more specific. Feeling Good is just kind of like bad guy doing bad stuff and looking sexy while doing it. I feel like it really should be The Great Pretender. Yeah, I'll answer that as his general theme song. If I had gotten that Licked subscription or whatever service they used to like license music for streams, that's probably the song I would have used as like his ending theme or like his just general theme song as a whole. I don't know about Antagonist in general, but yeah, that would be his theme. Yeah, just Kyle. Just Kyle. You're free to imagine what you want with that. Alternatively, I imagine any like really jazzy song. Somebody mentioned Tank. That's a very good one. Very good vibe. I hear that vibe. Also like anime jazz, I could see like Lupin the Third. I always say Lupin, it's Lupin. It's Lupin, right? I never know how to pronounce that. I've never known how to pronounce that. I'm always wrong. Yeah, I could see that. Dun 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 dun. Wild Side, that's a pretty good one. Also anime jazz, or like jazz influenced Annie song. Yeah, walking on the wild side. I don't want to sleep through my life. It is wonderful, my life. Please could you kiss my name when the music's over? It's a classic. Ooh, okay. Any reason why you chose Polaris as his code name? I thought it would be a little like a cute tongue-in-cheek moment for you, because I aim to be like the Polaris, like the Northern Star, in just my role here, and like I hope to be like a guiding force for you, even if I'm like always lost and confused. And I happen to have a polar bear mask on. I was like, polar is polar. Yeah, that was just a tongue-in-cheek moment. I just came up with it on the spot. In-game reason for Kyle? I don't know if I can give you a good one. I was just trying to think of a cute one that was like, how do I phrase this? I was just trying to think of a name that was like smooth to say and not just polar bear, because that's too obvious and too many syllables as well. Even, how do I phrase this? It's the same number of syllables as Polaris, but polar bear is like, it's slower, it's clunkier. Personally call you Polaris. I can't stop you. I will say, I've talked before, I personally am not a nicknames guy. I've always preferred to just be called Kaelix. I think being called by your name in a world where everybody calls people nicknames is kind of special. And I really like my name, so I've always preferred when people call me Kaelix. Yeah, I'd like to be like the Polaris, but it's more like something I aspire to. Yeah. Fingers crossed. El Perrito Blanco. Yeah, that could be his code name too, because that came up whenever we were doing the Spanish animal themed names. Or not all of them were animal themed even. They were just all Spanish. I was like, all right, what am I gonna be? I got a white dog hat, but Perro Blanco is a little straightforward. So Perrito Blanco is kind of like a funny gap. All right, let's see. Kyle's favorite customer. None of them. He hated every second of that job. Every time he'd serve a customer, I didn't successfully remember to do this in RP, but I want you to kind of retcon and headcanon that every customer he served, he immediately would walk back to the kitchen and wash his hands with intensity and disgust. You know that scene from Kakegurui 2? Like the second season where or no, this is actually from the first season, I think. Yeah, Kakegurui season 1, where Yumemite, she has the handshake event with her fans. Spoiler warning, I guess. And then after that, she's like disgusted and washing her hands. Imagine that, but it's Kyle. Every time he serves a customer, he has to wash his hands and have a smoke break to feel okay enough to do the next one. He hated every second of that job. He could not stand it. He was just in it for the money, and when he became a criminal, he stayed in it for the information. And he made a point, and I, as the player, made a point to remember everything I could about every customer I served. I don't know if you ever saw that in action. I couldn't tell you the order, and I'm not about to rattle off every single one just from memory, but I did make a point to memorize as best as I could every name and voice I collected as I was serving. And it did actually become useful a couple of times. It was like, oh, I know a thing or two about Mr. M. I served him one time. I gave him a couple of cookies. Yeah, like I don't know. So he had reasons for staying at the restaurant, but he hated it. He hated that cafe. He hated clocking in. He dreaded it, and he would leave at the earliest opportunity every time. Job or the customers or both. Combination of both. He hated being in that position of like needing to play a very like subservient, docile, flirtatious figure in order to upcharge and get the money he's looking for. And he didn't like when people received it positively as much. It's like a reward for good acting, I guess, for most, but for him, it was just like, ugh. It gave him an ick. He did not like it. Like, he is so job-oriented and non-romantic focused. Anytime his flirtation would be met with a positive reaction aside from just money, he'd get an ick. He hated it. He could not stand it. He could not stand it at all. Enough that I am gonna personally be okay with the fact that they took a cafe photo without me because I was offline. Yeah, that's when I was offline with I had an important work meeting that I couldn't get out of. I'm totally okay with it because Kyle might have straight up ditched that photo on purpose in character. Butler Cafe would have been really nice. Oh man, I would have worked at a Butler Cafe. And oh, I would love that. I would love to work at a Butler Cafe. That'd be so fun. What the heck? But yeah, no, he hates it. And that is kind of like the beginning of his distaste and distrust. His distaste for and his distrust of profit margins. He could not stand the people that came by the cafe. He hated working that job. He found it demeaning. But he stooped to it because he needed money. And he stayed in it because he needed information. All right, let's see. How would you compare this server with others like vcraft, Niji Enchanted, etc.? What was new? How was the RP different? To go with these specific, I could just go with the ones that I've personally done. For Niji Enchanted, I did not have a PC that could run Minecraft, if you believe it. Yeah, if you'll believe me when I tell you this, my PC on debut was not strong enough for a game like Minecraft, even as simple as Minecraft is, especially with the mods. So I could not play when everybody was active on the server. And by the time I joined, everybody had moved on. So my experience of Niji Enchanted was very quiet and very isolated and very limited to interactions with just like Zeal and Vanta. And basically nothing else. Yeah, Grandma PC era. So I had like a nothing burger experience with Niji Enchanted, unfortunately. And Kael is just kind of rotting away forever. But people are obsessed with him to this day anyway, for some reason. Even though he had like 0 screen time and 0 interactions of any meaning or value. But it was still fun. And I loved like walking through the server because I watched them when they were streaming it as a trainee. I watched them play Niji Enchanted before I debuted. So it was very magical to like actually walk around and see the things that they built and the places they played in. And then VCraft, I got to have a much more full experience because I was there the whole time from the beginning and I interacted with everybody I could. For that one, the RP was a lot heavier, specifically for me. We were talking about this in the debriefing after the end of the server on the last stream I did for District 5, but for a lot of people, they felt that the roleplay was actually lighter in Minecraft than it was in Grand Theft Auto because of the medium being so different, right? Because Minecraft is very cutesy, cartoonish, pixely, and that artifice kind of like takes away the immersion to an extent. But for me, more than the medium of the game, because I can get immersed in anything. I could get immersed in a pixel or a photo that is not moving. For me, what determines the heaviness and the depth of the RP and the immersion is the people that I'm surrounded by. So in Grand Theft Auto, District 5, I was with the Bachelors for 90+% honestly of the experience. And even though we had our serious moments where we were focused on the job and trying to get good stuff done, most of our downtime was very silly. And even on the job, we were always laughing. So for me, it was very light RP with serious moments sprinkled in, like a little spice every now and then. But VCraft Enchanted, the Minecraft one, it started very light because everybody was getting used to the game. The first 3 or 4 days, super light, super fun. But then there was the court trial around like day 5 or 6. And there's a very clear shift in direction as I get closer to Vitruvius Orthanc-Zarpit II. As Calvin gets to know him and learns from him and is trained by him, he takes a very meaningful turn into what would be for me as a player very serious and heavy RP. And I got to play with a lot of that backstory that I gave him that ultimately was just meant to be flavor text for you. Same thing with Kyle. When I give these big backstories, I do it with the expectation that they may never come up. And honestly, in the case of this server, it went as I expected. District 5, his backstory never came up. Exactly one person in the server was told that he was a child actor, and that was Rico when he was interviewing to be a maid at the cafe. And it was just a very light, pleasant interaction. There was no seriousness or depth to it. Nobody else found out about it because nobody asked about it. And I went into VCraft with the exact same approach. If nobody asks about it and nobody gives a really obvious opportunity to talk about it, where it's like, it makes so much sense for him to share this right now, I'm just not going to say it. And I went into VCraft with the expectation that nobody would know. I just write it for you to have flavor text so that you can like be informed of what is guiding my decisions, right? The blueprint that I'm building off of. But in VCraft, I ended up interacting with Vox, who filled a very specific role that perfectly mirrored Madeline in his backstory, in Calvin's backstory. Oh my gosh, their names are too similar. In Calvin's backstory. And so I ended up really getting into that backstory and using it and sharing it with people and taking it in a very serious way, in a very serious context. I said it before and I'll say it again. Proximity to Vox will determine the seriousness of your RP. Even if Vox is not doing a super heavy dark thing, because I think, obviously I wasn't watching it and I've only seen a number of clips so far, but I understand that for Serpico, Vox was taking more of like a salaryman approach where he would have isolated RP moments to himself, like as phone calls, right? He would do phone calls with his daughter. But I think on the job, it was actually pretty chill, right? With serious moments sprinkled between the rest of them. Yeah. So my understanding is that even just him committing to a character fully will kind of encourage you to it's like a phenomenon that encourages you to take yours seriously too. Yeah, Vox was too busy to RP. He was a salary man. He was on the job. But still, he's just so immersed in the character and so like convincingly the character he's playing that it is like infectious, in my opinion. And I say this as somebody that experienced post-RP with him through VCraft. So yeah, that is how I would say it was very different. For me, VCraft was more serious and heavier in general, specifically because of the people that I was RPing with, and vice versa for District 5. Yeah, it was way less serious. I loved both experiences though. And I said in the beginning, before I joined, I was really looking for a goofier, funnier experience of this server because I don't have the emotional availability to tank like a very serious character right now. If I did Calvin Part 2, the sequel, and was having all these emotional, heart-wrenching monologues, person after person summoning me to some random spot in Los Santos, I would have to take like a month-long hiatus to recover. I'm not even exaggerating. Because I'm still getting over Kyle to this day. Or Calvin. Oh my god, it's happening. It's happening! This is why we have to move on completely and just not talk about either of them. I'm still getting over Calvin. To this day. I'm still like moving on from it a little bit. And I'm still moving on from like the vulnerability of being in that position. And acting in that specific context of like... It's one of the weirdest forms of method acting ever. And I doubt that it would ever be taken with the same level of seriousness as people that do like in-person film acting method. But being fully immersed in a world where everybody else is also immersed and doing it for 10 or 11 hours every single day for over a week and a half, it's like I became Calvin in a way, and there were times near the end of it where I struggled a little bit to differentiate reality from the game. And I know it was other people experiencing that too, so stepping out of that was kind of hard. And I don't think I'm ready to step back into it to that extent. Not yet. Yeah, it's like its own weird form of method. But I loved it very much. It was a very precious and magical experience that I missed so badly, and I want to do it all over again. In like a year. Or maybe like 6 months. Maybe if I have 6 more months, I could handle it. I don't know. All right, let's see. Let's answer 1, maybe 2 more. Maybe 3 more, because this is an easy one that I have technically mentioned in passing. Why did you decide on Kyle? Like I said before, I normally would not go with the name Kyle because I know people call me Kyle sometimes, so that I can't search for it. That was revealed to me during a stream like 7 months ago. I did it because Wilson called me Kyle on stream before I joined. Yeah, Luca was like, it seems like I'm getting an email from that guy with white hair. He wants to join the gang. And Wilson was like, oh, Kyle? I was like, all right, his name's Kyle. That's why. That's it. That's literally it. That is the only reason I went with Kyle. I had literally no other reason. So I was like, all right, his first name is Kyle. I just have to come up with a last name that's punny enough to work. So I made it a play on Trial by Fire. So his name is Kyle Bifyre. Yeah. That was just the best one I could come up with. With that as my precedent there. Change my name after high school? Maybe, but I don't know. It's best that it's simple and as similar to my real name as possible, especially in the Bachelors, where a lot of the Bachelors just use their regular names or use names that were really, really similar to their regular names. I feel like it could have been harder otherwise if I went in with something totally different. I figured it would mesh with the group better if it was close to my real name, so I went with Kyle. All right. Is there a particular reason Kyle and Calvin had such serious personalities? One, I will say, is that both times I made a deliberate, calculated choice to play characters that were more prone to listening at first. And I gave them the potential to grow and become louder and more sociable. But I, from the beginning, wanted them to be more quiet, specifically so that I could sustainably do 10-hour streams every day. Because I personally, I don't know, in between other stuff, if I'm doing the 10-hour streams and talking a lot and talking loudly at full energy like I would in a normal stream, I'm gonna die and I'm not gonna make it to the rest of the server. Playing a quieter character in general is just so much easier on the throat. Yeah. That's the main reason that, like, even if I could do a really goofy voice, I could do a really feminine voice, I could do a really cartoonish, clowny voice that's really high up in my nose, I could do a gruff, masculine, I could do anything if I'm capable of doing it for a second. It would not be sustainable for 10 hours. I'm just not as strong as the people that are doing all those voices. So yeah, that is the main reason they both ended up being serious. I'd kind of like to play a character in the future that is still compatible with that approach, but not super serious. And for Kyle, I will say more than serious, I had kind of hoped for him to be kind of like dry charismatic. Like, he says exactly what he means, and sometimes that's just funny in a really blunt way. But, I don't know, it was kind of weird. Early on, especially, like the first few days of District 5, first couple days especially, I kept bleeding back into Calvin because I still haven't moved on. Yeah. Yeah, the seriousness was mainly determined because I wanted to rest my voice as much as I could midstream. Have like big high value moments sprinkled in between more quiet listening moments. And just like doing my best to make the POV good for watching other livers and other talents that were on the server. Yeah. RP as Deku one day. I've considered that before. Could you imagine? All right, everything about District 5 is the same.
But Kyle talks like this. It's not really Deku, but it's kind of like my default for anime dub actors in general. It's like a stereotype. It's not actually very accurate in my opinion, but it kind of serves as a false representation of the scene as a whole. But it's not very fair. But it cracks people up for some reason. Santos, are you really still in this mess? Are you still caught up in this mess, Santos? Oh man, well, I'm really looking for a job. Yeah, I'd love to work at this cafe if you could have me here. Oh, I have to do an interview? Oh, okay.
Like, could you imagine? I would not make it 6 hours. I wouldn't make it 2 hours, let alone 10. I'd be dead by the end of it. Kyle-san.
I know you have a good heart, Santos.
Cigarette. Could you imagine? All right, AU where I play with the LSPD and I'm playing a cigarette. And I'm like,
Oh man, that's really sad. I'm sorry to hear you lost your dad. I really want a cigarette right now. No, I can't. I'm sorry. My mom said I can't smoke. Oh, are you pulling out a cigarette? No, that would be secondhand smoking. I need to get away from here. I'm sorry. Sorry about your dad again.
like, could you imagine? Everybody would hate him. But no, I wouldn't be able to keep it up for that long. I could only do that if it was in a very casual server where I'm okay to join for like 2 or 3 hours and just miss the rest of it. I could not keep it up for the full 10-hour days. And unfortunately, I'm too motivated by FOMO. I want to be there to personally witness firsthand everything I can. The most I could do would be like a one-off bit. I actually considered pulling that out a couple times as Kyle. I wanted to play more with the actor vibe, but there weren't enough good opportunities to do it. All right, let's do one, maybe one more. Let's see if I can find a good one. Let's see. Let's see. It needs to be a good one if it's the last one. No, I'll do 2 more because I want to answer this one too, but it's kind of unrelated, like loosely related. Specific reason for the ocean marks I gave Kyle and Calvin. So for Calvin, I gave him the stack of books and the sunflower. If I were 100% in control, which I guess I am, but I try not to be too contrarian, I personally would have given him the stack of books and the lightning bolt instead. But everybody associates him with sunflowers anyway because his home was surrounded by sunflowers. The stack of books is because he was a big reader and he spent most of his time in VCraft reading up, trying to find magic so that he could find his mom. And his tower was just filled with stacks upon stacks of books. Yeah, everybody associates him with sunflowers, so I just went with the sunflower for the second one. But if I decided everything and did not care at all about what other people thought, it would have been the stack of books and the lightning bolt. You know, I do not personally see him as a sunflower. I think other people did, but I think that's more because of me. I saw him as a very pessimistic, miserable individual. I think he is like the antithesis of what sunflowers represent. He had like zero optimism and was hopeless and desperate and impulsive and made terrible decisions that hurt many people. He was a treacherous leech that contributed very little but was loved anyway. But people associated him with the sunflowers because he likes them and they surround his home. So it's okay. It's more recognizable to give him the sunflower. So that's why I gave him that. And then for Kyle, the mask that I used the most was the polar bear. And basically every other minute, he'd pull out a cigarette and smoke if there was a good wall to lean against. He smoked a lot. Yeah, he was low-key a smoking addict. That guy smoked so many cigarettes over the course of the server. So I just figured it would represent him well. Yeah. Be nice. I'm being real. I'm not good. I'm not bad. I'm not good. I'm not bad. I'm just right. All right. I'm not good. I'm not nice. I'm just right. I'm just telling the truth. Calvin was a very negative, pessimistic, biased individual that hurt people, and he can't fully be held accountable for that because he had no better way to know what was right. He was still learning how to be human and how to be kind, but yeah, no, he was the opposite of a sunflower as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I intentionally played him. I played him to be a miserable sack of poop. I wanted him to be one of the most unlikable, flawed characters ever that you couldn't help but feel bad for because of his origins. It's like, oh, I hate what you're doing right now so bad, but I know exactly why you're doing it. That's how I wanted to play Calvin. Yeah, no, I personally would not associate him with sunflowers, but I get why. And I do associate him with sunflowers in that his home was surrounded in them and that he liked them. Because I like them. I love sunflowers. I want to be like sunflowers. You know, he sought out negativity and he sought out bad stuff from a misguided, desperate hope to save his mom when he knew in the back of his mind that she's gone. But that's talking more about VCraft than District 5. We're still in the restaurant. It's been so many months and we're still in the restaurant. It's been over half a year. All right. I just want to keep answering questions. Everyone doesn't. I see when I'm like, this isn't the last one, but I can answer this one too. Did he have any hesitations about becoming a criminal, or was he totally fine because of the money? I think he was totally fine. He might have been a little hesitant if they were immediately like shooting people, but a basic house robbery that, you know, I think he's so like jaded is maybe the best word to use. More than like nonchalant or fine or content, he was jaded. This guy was worn down by multiple jobs failing him and all the essential people in his life failing him. He's just tired. He just needs money to live. He has a good source of it offered to him. He's going to take it. Yeah, he's a very tired soul by the time he arrives in Los Santos. All you had to do was ask. Yeah, he did not do any crime before Los Santos. At least again, if it didn't happen on screen, it's not fully canon in my mind, but I do not imagine that he got caught up in any crime before Los Santos. In my mind, he was like struggling in honest jobs. He did some bouncing. Maybe he did some actual home moving. entry-level convenience store jobs. Not enough to live, unfortunately. Not in California. Not in the general, not in, honestly, the whole of the United States of America. But yeah, the thought of having enough to live stably, I think would be really enticing to him. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think he really hesitated much. And obviously, I as the player was going in with the plan that he'd become a criminal, so there's a little bias there to the way I play him. But yeah, in my mind, he's so jaded, and he also, here's the thing. He's very, like, I mentioned before that he's soured against the film industry and the people that perpetuate it, but by extension, he's also, due to his, like, struggles with finances, he has a really strong dislike and resentment towards the well-to-do socialites of cities like Los Angeles / Los Santos. So he has, like, ample motive to just not care about the people he's taking from. He sees them as privileged. He sees them as, like, handed everything they need for them to live comfortably and happily enough to impulse spend on nice trinkets and stuff. So he just doesn't care. He just does not care. He's unbothered. He'll do anything for the right pay. So long as he's paid his fair share of the work he's doing, he'll do it. He probably would have agreed to a lot worse than robbing microwaves from houses. Yeah. Let's see. All right, let's do one more. And I mean it this time. One more. Thinking emoji. Oh, I want to do 2 more. But I need to stop. I need to stop soon. We're approaching our cap. Let's do a couple more. All right. Do you think Seina's exit made him withdraw from friendships any, or did he still value the bonds with others? There were actually a few questions about Seina, and specifically the spot of like seeing Seina helping the EMS at the end when everybody was bleeding out and dying. Yeah, no, so I'll get into that because we never talked about that. Not to answer this question specifically, but just to kind of like talk about Kyle's response to that in general. I don't know if you remember, there was a moment where I deliberately was like, is that? No, it couldn't be. Like seeing Seina helping them. More than like not fully recognizing him, which you could argue for because I think he was wearing a mask. In my mind, it's like he can't accept that he's there at the scene and is not helping them when they're all down and bleeding. So I think that would be like that would be a bit of a wound for him and a bit of a difficult thing for him to move on from. So I feel like it's unfortunate because, you know, I as a player love Senna. I love that guy. Dear friend of mine. Very happy I could play with him. But as Kyle, I feel like he'll keep it cool and he'll let Seina go with grace. But I don't know if he'd talk to that guy again after that. I think he'd see that as a deep betrayal. And like I said in character, I think Kyle knew that Seina wasn't fully committed to the gang life. He got kind of roped into it and stuck with it. And he had, I felt like he, in character, I felt and sensed that he had regrets about not being able to go back to the EMS. So Kyle always suspected that he'd return, so it wasn't too bad. But in that specific moment where they're all giving it everything they have, and they've all gone out in disgrace, and they're bleeding out in the rain, just sitting on the cold, wet pavement with their clothes darkening and dampening, and there's Seina helping the EMS when he's fully, like, he's got a full opportunity to whip out a weapon or something, or like cause a distraction or something. He saw that as a betrayal. Kyle did. After multiple repetitions of no man left behind, they were all left behind. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say that it made him withdraw from friendships, but I would say it would make him withdraw from that friendship particularly, or that relationship, if you can even call it a friendship. The relationship he has with the Bachelors is complicated because he values them, but ultimately it's still work. they still have like business relationships there. So it's hard to say 100% that it's friendship, but he does care about them very much. And he does trust them very much. And it is very important for him as like a very new experience of trusting people and feeling trusted by people to do what he needs to. Yeah, no, Sena fumbled him in that moment. I don't know about fumbled, but yeah, no, he lost him. That connection is cooked as far as Kyle's concerned. At least, if it didn't happen on screen, that's my headcanon. You can imagine that they met up again after the server ended and they reconciled and they're besties and they get coffee every day. You're free to imagine whatever you'd like, but yeah, no, in my mind, after that initial interaction at the concert, because he went there to see the concert, he wanted to support him even if he betrayed them and sold them out. No, I'm kidding. He did still go to the concert to support him. I imagine that conversation was one where he was performing. I've mentioned before that he sees a lot of his relationships and conversations as roles to be played and performances to pan out. That conversation with Sena, in my mind, that did happen on screen, where he's bidding him farewell and saying he always knew that they couldn't keep him tied down for long. In my mind, that was a front, and he was hurt by that. He just wanted to give the part of him that still had any fondness left for Sena, wanted to give him like a comfortable way to leave without guilt. Yeah. That's what I imagine. Yeah, no, Kyle has no interest in knowing that guy anymore, in my mind. I don't know if that's too emo. Because I don't know. I'm not one to perma-kill a character unless it makes perfect thematic sense with the moment, but if there was a moment to perma-kill any of the Bachelors, it was there in that final shootout. That's the moment they all could have died for good. And I think a couple others mentioned thinking about doing it then. So in a moment like that, to have all of them doing their death saving throws, to just stand there and like look at them and not help them. Yeah, that's just one. He still has good connections with other members of the gang and like maybe one or two people outside of the gang. Casablanca wasn't Casablanca. It was originally Fuente Blanca. Who called it Casablanca first? Do we know? Because I was just calling it whatever everybody else said. I had no idea it was originally. I heard Fuente. I heard people calling it Fuente Blanca, like White Fountain. But I thought people also called it Casablanca. The casa, the house. Was it Zad that called it that? Yeah, I just called it what other people called it. That is when you know the comms are bad. That is true. That is true. Oh, God. All right, let's see. Let's do exactly one more. And no more after that. I need one more. I need a good one to finish with. What is a good, meaningful question to finish with and then answer no more and then close this book forever and never open it ever again, ever? What is a good one? What is a good one? Thinking emoji. Thinking emoji. Thinking emoji. Ah, there are so many. There are so many. There are so many. There are so many. Season 2, I said this before, but for season 2, if there is one, my decision will very realistically and probably be shaped by what other people decide to do with their characters. Because I'm shy around strangers and I'm a workaholic who, if I'm shy about something, I will choose work over play. So if I don't have a group that I can conveniently nepo slide into, I'm probably just not going to play. So it will really depend on what everybody else does. see. What is a good one, though? Yeah, I cannot guarantee that Kyle will return. But hey, if the Bachelors are all like, all right, here comes Crime City. We're going to do more crime, more heists. I'd be like, all right, here comes Kyle bifyre. Or like if other people are interested in doing crime, it could be like Kyle in a new gang. I can see that happening. Or I could just play a totally new guy. Yeah, Nepo slide. I was a Nepo hire. I was a Nepo hire for the Bachelors. It was totally forced. Okay, I need a good one to finish with. There's so many that leave me feeling like I want to do more than just that one. Ooh, okay, I'll talk about this while I look for another one. What is another... Yeah, we're doing 2 more, sorry. What is another game you would like to do semi-serious to serious RP in? It was mentioned vaguely, but I really want to see it. Red Dead Redemption roleplay. Oh my god, that would be so freaking good. I want that so bad. I want that so bad. I want that so bad. I want Red Dead Redemption RP. That's what would be really nice. Aside from that, actually, I won't say with whom, unless I have already. Maybe you can guess. I won't confirm, though, just to be safe. But I've talked with a couple people about doing a one-off serious roleplay stream at some point with a game that I won't mention. Like as a, not a series, but a confined one-off collab that is like full serious commitment, because there's a number of people that want to do more serious heavy RP in these big servers, but it can be difficult sometimes to get a very satisfying ending when not everybody is on the same level of seriousness. So you may at some point in the future see a one-off heavy angst seriousness RP of some game with a specific group of people. I will not confirm anything until the day comes that it's confirmed, but for now it's just like in a like a pseudo planning stage. I'm too exhausted to even think about it right now after District 5 though. Okay, what is a good one to wrap with? There are so many that like feed me into other questions really effectively, but don't wrap the whole thing in, the whole thing up with. I need a good last question. Thinking emoji. Think. Cowboy Keith, Kenneth, ooh, I could be like Kennedy. Or like Cassidy or something. If I were in RDR, Red Dead Redemption. Oh, I want to ask, I want to answer so many. No, I need to answer just one more. I keep being like, okay, last one, and then I do more. We are very quickly approaching my hard cap, so I need to wrap this up in just one more question. Let's see. I don't mind repeating things, but for brevity's sake, I will avoid answering any questions that I already answered today. So you may want to go back and check the VOD. If I don't answer one that you asked, there might be a chance that I answered a similar one. There's so many. Oh, it's so tough. It's such a tough call. I'm like paralyzed by choice. You know, I get paralyzed whenever I have to make a decision between many options that are like equally valued. I need a good thing to close this with. Yeah, is there even a good question that would close the whole thing really effectively? All right, maybe we could just wrap it on general closing thoughts. This is a good one. Here we go. What has Kyle learned from all this time while he's at Los Santos? That's a good one to wrap with. Okay, what has Kyle learned? He has learned that it is okay to rely on people within reason, so long as those people demonstrate that they are dependable. He learned that you can rely on certain people and be relied on in turn. And he learned that it is a very rewarding and enriching experience to rely on somebody that relies on you. That's one of the things he learned. He went into Los Santos broke and distant, had thick, like reinforced walls barring him off from everybody else, closing off his heart. So that would be his biggest lesson, is that it is okay to rely on people. Sometimes. There's a little asterisk there. He still will not rely on everybody, but you can rely on certain people. That would be one thing he learned. Another thing he learned would be how to drive while not obeying traffic laws without getting caught. You can drive like a maniac and still avoid a speeding ticket if you can drive fast enough and in specific locations at specific times. That's another thing he learned. He learned how to drive like a crazy person. What else did he learn? He learned how to cook a few things. He didn't know how to cook very much going into it. He was more of like an instant ramen diner for everything he ate. He'd have instant ramen and maybe spam as a treat on the weekends to reward himself for working hard. He'd put some spam in the ramen. Now he can cook several things. What else has he learned? He learned how to launder money. Yeah, he learned how to launder money without getting caught. Amongst several other high tier crimes, like bank robbery. Yeah. He learned a lot of things, but I think his biggest lesson is that it's okay to rely on people. And that is one I, Kaelix, the real person, am still struggling with. I still need to learn that. I have a really hard time relying on people for things. I don't know if I've talked to you about that. I think I've told you this once before at least. I suck at relying on people, especially if it's something I can feasibly do myself. I am so bad at trusting others to do what I can get done myself. It's my biggest weakness. It is my most debilitating weakness, honestly, as a content creator. And it is a big reason that my content output outside of streams is really, really slow. Because I've always insisted on just doing everything myself, and I don't have the time to do it myself, so it means I just don't do anything. But even outside of like video output and stuff, like when it comes to reviewing materials for things like merchandise and one-off collabs and stuff, I'm in there controlling every aspect I can. I'm like, I would love it if this was like this instead, or if this fabric was this color, or if it went this low, or if this accessory could be changed to look like this. I'm micromanaging every tiny little detail, when in reality, it would be so okay to just trust other people to do it for me. So I need to learn from Kyle a little bit. I need to learn that it's okay to rely on people to do things for you. Because there are so many people there to support me in the things that I want to do. But I just can't accept it. I can't accept that support. I'm getting there. That's one of my goals for this year. Because one of my goals for this year is to release covers. At least 2 or 3 covers this year would be really good. Like 2 or 3 solos. Ideally, like maybe 5 to 6 plus group things included. Would be nice. And in order to accomplish that kind of output in a year, I'm going to need to be okay with getting other people to do things for me. So I'm learning. I'm getting there. I'll rely on people more. I bet. I hope. Yeah, that's Kyle's biggest lesson, is that it's okay to rely on people, and that it is a very rewarding social experience to rely on people and to be relied on in return. And with that, we will end this Q&A and close the book that is Kyle's adventure in Los Santos, District 5. We will no longer be talking about it, right? Maybe the occasional reference is fine, so long as I'm not talking about it every single day. I don't want to see a District 5 mentioned account appearing on Twitter and logging every day I mention it. Oh God. Yeah, no, I don't want to see a counter. We're gonna give him one last formal deuces and leave him forever. Maybe. Probably. Yeah, I do. As I mentioned, I have a hard cap. I got to get out of here within the next like 6 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up really quickly. As for streams for the rest of this week, tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have a Fortnite collab. I will be playing Fortnite with Illyra Pandora, Vantacrow Bringer, and Zeal Ginjoka. I think they're playing for the Honkai Star Rail skins, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not getting any of those. I'm gonna be a default Fortnite skin probably. But I hope that's not a problem. Yeah, I'll play Fortnite. But yeah, I think they're specifically playing because of Honkai Star Rail. I don't know anything about that. I'm just there for the Fortnite. I'm there for the company. But yeah, I hope you can look forward to that. There may be a gorilla stream tomorrow morning, depending on how I feel when I wake up from my next nap, which I'll take here in a few hours. I'm realistically probably going to sleep from like 1 a.m. to, I'm hoping like 6 a.m. would be great. If I can get that, then I can start pushing closer and closer towards sleeping normally instead of napping twice a day. But yeah, there may be a gorilla, may not be in the morning. And then Saturday at 7 p.m. EST, I will be playing Splatoon 3 is my game plan. Yeah, I'll be doing regular battles in I think in a closed lobby. So if you'd like to play Splatoon with me, feel free to get that ready. There's no guarantee that I'll be able to fit you in because unfortunately it gets pretty crowded whenever I do a lobby game with a limit. And Splatoon has a limit of 8 per round. I'll do as many rounds as I can, and I'll ask that people only play one game. So it should be at least easier to make room for people in Splatoon than it is in like Go, for example, where it's like 16 and that 16 people are there forever. But yeah, I'll be playing Splatoon 3 on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you can look forward to it. To give a head start on next week's schedule, I will be playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on Sunday, the 8th, also at 7 p.m. But this will be daylight time, right? Eastern Daylight Time, I think is when that happens. Hold on. Daylight savings time 2026 minus AI. Search did not match any documents. What do you mean? Daylight savings 2026 minus AI. Okay, there we go. I don't know what that was about. All right, let's see. Sunday, March 8th. So yeah, that'll be daylight time. So yeah, you may have to do the conversion a little differently. I think Eastern Standard Time to Japanese Standard Time, JST. EST to JST is 14 hours, right? I think EDT, Daylight Time, Eastern Daylight Time to JST is 13 hours. So it'll be 1 hour earlier than usual. Yeah. Yeah, so this will be an EDT when we get to Sunday. Yeah, it'll be a little confusing, but I'll do my best to clarify it as best as I can and to get it right myself this time. Every time I have to adjust the daylight savings, I mess up and I get everything wrong. I'm just historically really bad at it. Yeah, I will do my best to lock in this time and get it right. All right. That should be the schedule for next week. I'll do my best to figure out the rest of next week ahead of time so that I can get you a graphic sooner rather than later. That would be nice. But yeah. All right, I'm going to send you somewhere. Where can I send you? Who's live? Who's live? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Zugin Joka is playing World of Warcraft. Let's go join him. He's catching every serpent in World of Warcraft. Looks like he's catching snakes. He's about to catch these hands. I don't know why I said that. I'm just feeling combative for some reason. Yeah, I'm gonna send you to well, hold on. When did he start? I think hold on. I could also send you into the start of a District 5 related stream because I think I remember I saw it this morning. I may send you there instead, actually. He's about to catch his hands for real. I'm about to betray him. Hold on. Let me double check the hour for that. Yeah, actually, we're just in time. I think it's always better to send you into the beginning of a stream rather than the middle of one, if I can. So I'm gonna send you to Sable and Uki. They're having an off collab, and I think they're doing it in character. Yeah, I think they're doing it in character as Sable John Jacobs and Viola. I'm not sure if that's true, but it says Dr. Sable John Jacobs in the title. But it's an off collab. They're trying Sakura snacks. So I'm gonna send you there. We're just in time. They're starting literally in like a minute. So we can watch from the beginning. We won't miss anything. Doesn't it feel great to not experience FOMO? Yeah, I don't know if this will be as Sable and Uki, or if this will be as SJJ and Viola, but it says Sable John Jacobs in the title, so it might be in character, which is District 5 related. So I don't know. I like to maintain continuity where I can. Yeah, go support EMS. They worked so hard. They clocked in like crazy over the course of the server. Send them some love. Shouts out EMS. They were so epic. Shouts out LSPD again. They were also very epic. It was so much fun playing with them. Okay. That is going to be all from me today. If you participate in this redirect, please, as always, be very polite. Read the rules and follow them. Do not talk about me ever in somebody else's stream ever. All right? Thank you for always being so well behaved. It makes me very proud. Whether you participate in the redirect or not, I hope that you get some good rest. I hope that you can have some delicious food as well. And as always, I hope that you can stay safe. All right? Please stay safe. Thank you again for supporting me over the course of this stream event. It was very full commitment, so I wasn't able to hang out with you directly as much as I like to normally. So I hope you didn't mind that. I hope it didn't feel too lonely. I'm really excited to be returning back to normal now, so I will do my best to give you as many good times as I can. Thank you as always for hanging out with me. I appreciate your company much more than I know. All right. Till next time. Bye-bye. deuces.